What's up? And welcome back to another live unboxings with Gizmo Slip Tech. My name is Brandon Baldwin, and I've unboxed, I don't know, 150 laptops? I don't know, over 100 at this point. And I'm gonna have a good time today. We've got the Zephyrus G16 with an RTX 5070 Ti in the platinum white version. We also have the gray version you can take a look at. I'm actually live streaming from the RTX 5090 version of the Zephyrus G16, and I got a 5080 version behind me over there on the laptop wall, and we'll be doing a three-way head-to-head benchmark comparison very soon. But today, we're gonna focus just on the RTX 5070 Ti, as I think that will be the most popular model that features the best bang for the buck for your money. So, without further ado, you can see all the streaming objectives over here on the right, but we do these tests in just about all the different live streams that we do for the unboxings, and I'm really excited to get into this. So let's just hop right into the top competitors. What's up, Reza? Welcome to the live stream. You're first. Congrats. Okay, let's go here. And let's pop over to the Zephyrus G16. So here we are. You can see the biggest draw to the Zephyrus G16 is going to be its unibody aluminum chassis. It's just very lightweight, very thin, and still fairly sturdy. I still think the rigidity could be improved a little bit, as we'll see, I believe, in today's flex test. But it's still very well built, I think, overall, with a great touchpad. I like the keyboard. There's no number pad, but it's extremely thin, especially since it has an OLED panel here. It makes the display bezel very thin, making the overall package very thin, and it's also very lightweight. I believe it's 4.2 pounds. Let's see here. Only 0.59 inches thick, which is very crazy. And if we zoom out here, we can see all of the different models that you can potentially buy with the Zephyrus G16. So there are quite a few. You've got the Ryzen AI HX370 or the Intel 9 285H as a potential CPU option here. We've got the Intel Ultra 9 285H in the laptops we'll be testing for my benchmark comparison. And you can see it starts at $1799 if you go for the RTX 5070. That's the starting price. This is a pretty steep starting price. I think they should have done a 5060 version. But if you want a 5060, you gotta go to the G14 this year or go for a different laptop. 5070 Ti, I think, is the sweet spot because it should still be able to play a lot of the games. You've got an excellent amount of GPU power for the laptop size, letting you use all the silicon pretty much that's in there, or nearly all of it. And then you've got a 5080 and 5090. It's kind of overkill for like the silicon versus the GPU TDP. So that's one thing we want to test in the upcoming three-way comparison is how much performance gain do you get getting a 5080 or a 5090 over a 5070 Ti, because the 5070 Ti costs $2,000 less than a 5090. So, I mean, you're basically almost buy two 5070 Ti's, almost, at least when it's on sale like it is right now, for the price of one 5090 Zephyrus G16. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited. This is gonna be my primary laptop, so let me show you that real quick. All right, so you can see I've actually got the 5090. We're streaming from it. Zephyrus G16, retired the SCAR 18 for now, and this guy is going to be the laptop that I'll be using for now, and I'll be doing a long-term review of the Zephyrus G16 5090 version, or maybe 5070 Ti version. I don't know if it's better for me to do a 5070 Ti or a 5090 in this case. But I kind of want the 5090 because I know it's not that good of a performance gain for your money, but if money is no object and you just want the best, period, for the size, then the 5090 is obviously the way to go, because it will be faster, but just how much faster, we'll need to find out. Okay, so let's talk competitors, right? That's what we're going through here. We've got the Legion 7i. Now, the Legion 7i also has an OLED 240 Hz QHD display. And I suppose we should go over all the detailed specs here. Seven says, my man, yeah, what's up? Could you install G-Helper and max out the GPU TDP? I would actually like to do a G-Helper tutorial and just see what it's like. and give my opinions on G-Helper. I plan on doing that for the long-form review. Please overclock the 5070 Ti G16. This generation is easily overclockable. That's true. The 5070 Ti is going to be the GPU everyone will want. Unless you've got a lot of money and you got money to burn, then maybe you'll want the 5090 because you got all that extra VRAM. And then obviously it will be faster in some games, you know. But like normally a 5070 Ti is like, I don't know. Or normally a 5090 is probably 30 to 40, 50% faster depending on the game, but probably 30 to 40 on average. And in a chassis like this, I'm guessing it's more like 15 to 20% faster. It's hard to say exactly. So let's talk specs. All right, so Intel Core Ultra 9 285H. Let me pull up the spec page for this real quick so you can see the detailed specs on this. But I did a detailed review of the 285H against the Ryzen AI9 HX370 in a previous test, and these two CPUs are very close. And as a matter of fact, I would say I probably would prefer the Intel one, mainly because of slightly better performance in certain tasks, but the AMD one is also very, very good. The main thing is the AMD one was going to cost a little bit more. I don't know if that's true now. If we were to look at these prices, the Intel for a 5070, they don't do a 5070 Ti. Well, the Zephyrus G16, I don't know. Maybe they don't offer the Ryzen AI 9 version right now. We'll have to look into it. But basically, the Intel 285H is probably the way to go if they are offering the two, in my opinion, based on the test I did. But it's so close. It's really close that either one's good. I'd say get whatever one's cheaper, if I was being honest. All right, so 16 cores, 6 performance cores, 8 efficiency cores, and 2 low power cores on this processor. Let's talk about the Legion 7. I'm kind of going all over the place right now. Let's finish the specs here. Okay, Zephyrus G16, Core Ultra 9, 285H, so 20 cores, 16 cores, 6 performance cores. That's the key thing. You have 6 performance cores, so you're going to be able to handle a decent amount of multitasking here. But since this is a thinner chassis, the power limit won't be so high, and the HX processors or the Dragon Range processors from AMD, they're going to be just a lot more powerful for multi-core processing. But for gaming workloads, the 285H is very good, and it should not bottleneck us too much in the vast majority of CPU-bound games. 32 gigs of DDR5, 7467 mega transfer memory, so that's very fast memory. We'll see how fast it is actually in today's 8/64 RAM speed test. I believe mine comes with a 2 terabyte SSD, a QHD 240Hz OLED 500 nits, 100% DCI P3. Now, it says 500 nits, and this is HDR 500 certified, but it's actually, in my test, I think it was closer to 400 nits, okay? Legion 7i. Ultra 9 275HX, so you get an HX processor here, which is a lot more powerful, but the Legion 7i only goes up to an RTX 5070. No 5070 Ti here on the Legion 7i, which that's a pretty big bump because you have only 8 gigs of VRAM here on the Legion 7i, and I guess you do have 32 gigs DDR5, and this may be SODIMM memory, so it might be upgradable, which is nice because you know the Zephyrus is going to be soldered. So if you really need 64 gigs of memory, you're going to have to buy that out of the box. Now, overall, I do really like the Legion 7i. I did get hands-on with it at CES, and it's one that I can definitely recommend. But if you want powerful GPU, the 5070 is a little on the low end, at least if you want QHD gaming. So I would really recommend going for a 5070 Ti. Now, another major competitor is the Blade 16. The Blade 16 is about the same level of thinness. Well, generally for most of it is about the same level of thinness, but there is the thermal bump. These pictures don't really show it very much, but there's a little bump on the bottom. We can maybe look at my hands-on at CES to show it because let's see here. Right here. So it's about the same size as the Zephyrus G16, except it has this riser in the bottom middle. And this thing will basically let the thermal solution cool the laptop better, allowing the GPU to go up to about 160 or so watts, 165 with the dynamic boost, but the base is 140 watts. Now, if you get the Razer cooling pad, it actually lets you go up to 175 watts, which is really, really cool. I wish Asus did something like that, where if they had a specific cooler that lets you boost the wattage to a higher level. I know I've seen some users on Reddit, I've interacted with some users on Reddit that have upgraded the VBIOS up to 175 watts on the Zephyrus G16. So, I mean, it's definitely a possibility, and I may end up doing that on mine and testing it out, but I'll have to get a laptop cooling pad before I do that. Because the stock airflow, I don't think it would handle more than about 140, 150 watts at max fans. I don't know, at least in an air-conditioned environment. Now, the Blade 16 is $3,000, which is a huge step up over the Zephyrus. Zephyrus only being $2329 right now, and the Blade 16 being about $670 more. Now, because it has a higher power limit though, the GPU should be just a little bit faster, especially if you went for a 5080 or 5090 in a more portable form factor. And that's probably the main situation where I would consider recommending the Blade 16. The main downside to the Blade 16, there's been quite a few quality control issues from users, with the touchpad especially, and then also the ports all go through AMD's FreeSync, which means that even the HDMI port is not directly connected to the GPU. So if you want to use a high-end VR headset, it's problematic because the GPU display out bandwidth is not very good on the Blade 16 2025 version. But you get extra fast DDR5X RAM, QHD 240Hz OLED display, and it's also a unibody aluminum chassis. So I think the Blade 16 is a very comparable laptop this year, and one that I can probably also very much recommend. Now, all right. So another alternative, if you want to save some money, would be going for the Asus Strix G16 or just a thicker laptop in general. The Legion Pro 5i would be another choice. One of the Acer laptops, like the Nitro Predator 16. Going for a thicker laptop will basically give you more performance for your money, but this thing is a lot thicker and it's quite a bit heavier as well. So 5.5 pounds, and this one's 4.3 pounds, so it's more than a pound heavier, and I'm sure the power brick is also a bit heavier too. So yeah, but you get a Dragon range processor in here, and it's less money. So save $300, get a more powerful processor, and get a bit more performance, but you're sacrificing the unibody chassis, the speaker quality, and the OLED display, QHD resolution. All of those things do matter, but going for full HD is not necessarily bad because it'll future-proof you a little bit better. The HP Omen Max 16 with the Ryzen AI 7 H350 with the RTX 5070 Ti is another option I think you should consider. I mean, it's not going to be as thin or as light as the G16, 5.92 pounds. So it's more than a pound, 1.6 pounds heavier. And it's definitely going to be thicker and louder, but it's still thinner-ish for a 16-inch chassis, and you get up to 175 watt TDP if you get the 5080 or 5090 version. 5070 Ti, of course, will cap out at 140. And configuring this, you don't actually have an OLED display option, at least with this base config. And when you configure it pretty similarly, it's actually going to be very comparably priced to the Zephyrus right now. So I don't think I'd really recommend the Omen Max 16 over the Zephyrus, but it's one to consider, especially if there's some big sales on the Omen, because there's sales regularly happening. And I think that the Omen is one of the laptops that's worth considering for sure. So the Omen Max 16 AI 7 350 with a 5070 Ti. Looks like SODIMM memory here, so you can upgrade it. And a QHD 240Hz 500 nits IPS display instead of OLED, which is kind of the downside. And because I was not actually showing the screen when I was talking about this, let me review this one more time. Asus Strix G16 is another thicker laptop to consider. Save some money and get a more powerful processor, as well as better RGB effects. But I would say the premium quality is a lot better on the Zephyrus with the unibody aluminum chassis, the OLED display, and a lot better speakers. So the Blade 16, I believe I was trying to show you the the bump here on the bottom, and you can see that right here. So this thermal bump will make the laptop thicker, but perceptively, it's not really that thicker when you hold it. So it still feels more portable. Now it does weigh 1.1 pounds more, but you also get a bit more graphical performance out of it. So I think the Blade 16 is especially a more valid choice to consider if you're going to get a 5080 or 5090, because then you get more TDP in still a very thin and light package. The Legion 7i, again, a more powerful CPU, but no 5070 Ti here. But you do save some money because it is, a lower end GPU, but you still get the same OLED display. So if you're okay with a 5070 and you want to save some money, the Legion 7i I think is another good competitor, but I really would recommend a 5070 Ti as like the baseline amount if you can. So this is the actual unit that we'll be testing today in the live stream, the Zephyrus G16 285H 5070 Ti, 32 gigs, DDR5X 7467, 2 terabyte SSD, and a QHD 240Hz OLED. And I am also excited to test and benchmark Battlefield 6 today for the first time. I did pre-test it, and it was running pretty good, but we'll actually see what we get with FPS in a live test today. So those are the top competitors. Let's briefly go over pros and cons for the Zephyrus. We kind of already did that a little bit, but basically the biggest pro here, premium features, higher price tag, biggest con, good keyboard, good trackpad, great display, overall enough performance to play basically all the modern games, but you get a lot more FPS in thicker chassis with bigger GPU TDP, so that's a big trade-off there that you'll have to decide if you want portability or performance. But the Zephyrus G16 should be able to play theoretically basically all the games on ultra settings, maxed out. It's just that if you were to get a thicker laptop, you'd play all the games on ultra settings maxed out at like another 20–30% higher frame rate because of the additional TDP. So, yeah. But with the 5070 Ti, it's not as big of a hit because the baseline TDP is 140, and with the Zephyrus, I was seeing 125 watts on the GPU TDP. So you're only missing 15 watts with a 5070 Ti. With a 5080, 5090, you're missing more like 50 watts, which is a bigger fall off for GPU TDP for sure. All right, so without further ado, let's move into the laptop unboxing, and let me check chat as well. Cool. Did you see the latest issues for the NVIDIA driver for 5080? I think I did not see that. If you've got some issues, some juicy problems, please let me know. AMD's CPU has just better battery life. Plug-in just as good as Intel, so AMD is kind of good if you actually want to use it as a laptop. Well, Baka, I would say that the new Intel 285H is pretty good on battery, in my experience. I have been using the Zephyrus G16 in battery mode, and the battery life on it is really good. So that's another major pro for the Intel 285H versus, say, like the HX lineup of the Dragon Range or Intel, because the HX lineup is going to be so power hungry that you're not going to get very good battery life. Usually only like 3, 4, 5 hours in that range for typical web browsing. And with the Zephyrus, I mean, you can push it 6, 8, 10 hours depending on how you set it up. I've been regularly watching The Expanse lately, rewatching it for the third time, and watching 4 episodes in a row, which are almost an hour long each, of max brightness, max volume, laying in the bed, watching the show. And it's great because OLED, it's lightweight, it's cool to the touch when you're in the Intel iGPU only mode. So it can sit on your lap, it's not hot, and you have just a great cinema-like experience wherever you are. So I really like the Zephyrus G16 for that purpose, especially of like utilizing it as a multimedia device. It's really, really good and much better than, say, like a heavier 18-inch laptop. And also using it in your lap. This laptop is perfect for actually using it as a laptop in your lap. But yeah, okay. Hemicler says, gonna buy a G16 with a 5070 Ti or Area 51 16 with a 5070 Ti. Both are on sale at Best Buy. And yes, I know they're very different. That's true. Don't look for non-Ti if you gotta wait, you wait. What's your favorite gaming laptop? Well, right now, I really love the Zephyrus G16. Soccerman says, is there any ROG laptop who runs on balanced configuration, silent fan noise with good FPS? Yeah, I mean, most of the thicker, even the Zephyrus G16 can run pretty dang quiet and a good FPS, especially in less demanding titles. In the most demanding titles, that's where you kind of want to max your FPS and you really got to kind of ramp the fans a little bit if you want near peak performance. But yeah, okay. So let's just go ahead and hop into the unboxing now. All right. Okay. So this is the outer box. Let me see if I can turn on this light. I gotta plug it in. There we go. All right, cool. Now we got more of a fill light from the right side, a little bit better. Cool. All right, so here's the box. And this is the outer box. There's another inner box, so let's go ahead and get to that. Got a nice little packing system. This is sturdy. It gives the main laptop box an air gap all the way around it. So there's the actual laptop box. And here is the power adapter box. And let's go ahead and do the power adapter real quick. So here it is. It's fairly small, but honestly, I'm a little surprised that they can make it a little bit smaller, given how small some of the 400 watt is. This is a 240 watt. And so, I mean, you would think that with the 240 watt, they'd be able to make it just a little bit smaller, because a 400 watt is only just a little bit bigger than this nowadays. So, so yeah. And on this power adapter, you have the Asus proprietary power plug, which actually works in a lot of the newer laptops for 2025. The main downside to this is that it does have kind of a little bit of a wiggle when you plug it in. I'll see if I can show that today. We also have our power plug. Power plug cable here. So all in all, let's see how long this is. All right, so this cable is about 5.5 feet long, if I were to guess. And then this cable is about 4.5 feet long, just a little bit shorter. So you get about a 10-foot reach, maybe a little bit under that, maybe a 9-foot reach with this, which is quite good, I think. I haven't really had any problems plugging my laptop in and getting it plugged in wherever I've gone so far. Yeah, okay, there it is. And let's go ahead and take it out. Wow. So we'll set this back here. And let's go ahead and open this up. Grab all the papers out and take a lookie. All right. So this comes with, it looks like register your laptop to receive 1 year of Asus Accidental Protection Program and other exclusive benefits. This covers liquid spills, electrical surges, and accidental drops. So that's really cool. And if you share your experience, you can get an additional 90 days extra of warranty extension. That's sweet. And I'm really glad to see that, because if I actually drop this laptop, it'll be great to try to use Asus's services for the accidental drop protection. So USB PD fast charging up to 100 watts. Requires at least 45 to be able to use power delivery though. Some more FCC guidelines. Let's see here, I'll just try to get you, if you really want to read this, you can read it and take a look. I'll let you pause it and read everything. I think this is the last page, I think. Oh no, there's a little bit more. Getting started. Right there. All right. Basically, this thing says, plug it in and then start it. And it's like, oh, that's basically about it. All right, so warranty card. And I believe it's a 12-month. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, okay. For some reason, it was talking about 24 months. I was like, wait, is it a 2-year warranty? No, I think it's just a 12-month warranty. But you can extend it to 15 months. Also, notice the panel defective policy. You have to have at least 3 bright pixels or 5 dark pixels, or 8 bright or dark pixels in total to be able to get it covered, which I think is pretty silly. So if I bought this, I would buy it from a company that lets me return it if there's dead pixels. Because if there's just 1 dead pixel, I still want to be able to return it or get it fixed at least, I think that's kind of that's a very common warranty policy to only cover it if there's so many dead pixels, but it's still annoying. I think companies should cover it consistently if there's any dead pixels at all. All right. Checking chat real quick. Scar Bunny says, hello, I'm about to purchase a MSI Vector A18 9955HX with a 5070 Ti. But at the same price, I can get a Strix G16 with an R9 9955HX3D with 5070 Ti. Or a Vector 16 with 5080. Ooh, yeah. Well, I would say, Scar Bunny, if you are if you're an esports gamer, going for the HX3D, Strix G16, which is that laptop right behind me right there, that would be the way to go if you want to improve your CPU-bound game performance, because it's pretty dramatic. Like sometimes a big performance gap. But if you are primarily a AAA gamer and you don't really play esports games or CPU-bound games, then I'd probably go for either the most powerful GPU, or if you really want a larger laptop, then go for the Vector A18. That's a good choice too. Just keep in mind the Vector, the MSI laptops do not have G-Sync or Advanced Optimus. That's probably the biggest spec change that you should be aware of going into that purchase. Screamer says not a Vector, no. Well, I mean, if you can get great value for your money, I think it could be still a good purchase. Okay, so let's take off the plastic. And I do really love this color overall. You got this nice RGB light strip, or I guess LED light strip in this scenario. You also have this, let's go ahead and take this off for now. Voila. And all right, so ROG Nebula display, NVIDIA G-Sync, so that way you don't have screen tearing. Refresh rate 240 Hertz with a fast response time of 0.2 milliseconds, and True Black 500 VESA display HDR, 100% DCI P3 coverage. We'll see what we actually test in our display test today, but like I said, I don't think it's quite that much in my own testing. Let me grab the other color real quick. So this is the 5080 version right here on top, and the 5070 Ti version is down below. And in terms of actual color choice, colorway choice, you can pick between these two. They both look really good, but probably the biggest difference is how the keyboard actually lights up on the laptop itself. I think it lights up a bit better on the dark keyboard. When you do like all white, for example, it looks easier to read the keys. And but I think the actual aesthetics of the platinum white is just so good. So it's kind of hard for me to be like, I don't know. I like this brighter color for sure. I didn't clean this 5080 version before pulling it out, but let me show you if I can see if I can show you an example of the keyboard backlights here. Turn both on. Oh, and there's a little keyboard cover, cloth cover too. But let me go to the top down. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So going to the top down, you can kind of see how the keyboard is much easier to read than on the white, but I don't care. I still like the white keyboard better because the backlight on it doesn't matter that much unless you're in the dark environment, and then when it's dark, it still looks great on either one. So it's just this one looks better in a bright environment in terms of easily reading the keys. But I mean, I don't usually read the keys anyway. I type by feel. So, but yeah, that's an example of the color differences between the two. All right. Okay, so we're going to shut this down again because we're going to take it apart. And we're going to do a flex test and all of that. Okay, so let's see here. What is next officially? Flex test and weighing it. Does the black one leave fingerprints? That's a great question. I mean, you can take a look here at the one I've actually been using on a day-to-day basis. I would say the trackpad does have some fingerprinting that happens, but I was using this while eating, so I don't think it really leaves much fingerprints on the black one or the white one. Either one looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit of fingerprints here. I can't close it all the way or the live stream will shut down. So, but yeah, I think it does not really have much for fingerprints on either one. They have a good coating. Obviously the screen itself will have a lot of fingerprints, but on the keyboard and the back of the laptop, I don't think it's very much of a fingerprint magnet, which is very nice. Okay, so flex test, let's start. Right side, all right. No flex, no flex. Yeah, pretty much no flex. Okay, a little bit of flex over here, but not much, just barely. No flex, no flex, no flex. Let's go to the middle. A little bit of flex, but not much, just a little bit. A bit more flex on the keys themselves, but again, pretty minimal flex. I like it. Very firm, very rigid. And the keyboard spacing on here, you know, in 2024 they improved it, and I love typing on this keyboard. I could type all day on this thing. It's great. And I like that the arrow keys are spaced and separated down for the left and rights. So yeah, okay. And the nice thing here too is that the speakers are upward firing, so that when it's on your lap, you get tons of audio hitting your face. So let's go ahead and weigh this thing. $4.32 4 pounds, 3.4 ounces. So it's actually a little bit less than what Asus claimed, surprisingly enough. Let's do the power adapter on there. Total carry weight. I can't get this cable to stay. There we go. 5 pounds, 13 ounces. So right about 5.8 pounds with the power adapter. I feel like that's really, really good overall for a portable laptop that's this powerful. All right. Time to remove the bottom and see what's on the inside of this laptop. Okay. I'll go ahead and back this up a little bit for ease of use, and we'll pull this out. All right, we'll go to town. Let's see here. I believe we're looking for a T5 here. Let's see. That seems correct, but let me check if a T6 is the right one or not. Okay. Yeah, T6 is what you want for this. I imagine a T5 would probably work, but you might strip this if you were to use it. So just get a T6 and you'll be fine. All right, so I think this screw is a pop-up screw. Let me go to the top down, actually. All right. Get some Skittles. Man, I would, but I don't want to go crunch, crunch, crunch into the microphone. I love Skittles, though. Is the 5070 Ti 3 fans or a vapor chamber? Well, we're about to find out, aren't we? Yep. One thing I will say about this platinum white version is that you get it's easier for little bits of dirt and grime to show up. Let me show you what I mean. You see it right here? I don't know if there's a little food thing or something, but I bet if this was the dark version, you wouldn't even see that at all. So yeah, it's one downside of getting the light version. Is that stains from food and other stuff is going to show up quite a bit more. All right, so there are screws that are different sizes on this laptop, okay? So the front 3 screws that come out are short. The middle screw in the back here is also a medium size, and then the side screws here are long. So we got long, 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 medium, short, short, short. And if you put the wrong screw in the wrong hole, I hope nothing bad happens, but I'm not going to find out. I've definitely seen users put a screw through their laptop battery or other motherboard components. So make sure you put the right screw in the right hole, all right? And there's 2 more screws here at the top. Let's see if these are long ones or short ones. Looks like these are medium size. So you get a nice variety. You get 3 different screw sizes with this laptop, which kind of sucks. Now, as far as ease of opening, this pop-up screw is nice. All right, so this screw pops up, creating a gap for you to easily open up the laptop. So let me go ahead and Just grab my blue tool here. We'll slide it into the gap and slide it down. Voila. And we'll do that. We'll go around. There we go. And we're almost there. Let's go back and go this way. There we go. Yeah, I think we can just lift it off here. I don't want to bend it. Let me go top down, and I'm actually going to pull it off for a second. I'll just go forward cam for now. All right, and let's see here. I'll get it in the gap here. Yeah, so there are more plastic clips along the back row as well you'll need to pop out. There we go. And here we are. Voila. Oh, haha. And voila. Haha. Okay, so looks like we have a vapor chamber on the 5070 Ti, 5080, and 5090 model, which makes sense because they're all the same GPU board type. So this over here is where you put another SSD. And I did put my 8 terabyte double-sided SSD into this slot, but I stripped the screw here on my unit. So you got to be real careful and use the right screw when you're putting this, trying to take this screw out. It was so tight, it was hard to get it out. So yeah, be very careful. Use a firm grip. Now you've got your Wi-Fi here, which is an Intel, I believe it's an Intel Wi-Fi 7 model. But let's see if we can get the actual detailed specs here, zoomed in on. All right, so there is the Wi-Fi. It's the Intel BE201. All right. If you want to do any work on this, here's the battery disconnect right next to the Wi-Fi. So you'll want to pull this up if you want to take the battery out, to add or remove an SSD. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other SSD now. Oh, well, it looks like it's got a heat shroud or something on it, heat tape, so we're not going to be able to see anything on that SSD. I'm not going to worry about that. But yeah, there's the another SSD there. Let's go to the top cam again. And if you need to take this off, it looks like there are numbers on which screws to do in the right order. And that may be also when you're putting it back as well. But you probably want to do it in reverse, I imagine, when you're taking it off. So you got 2 fans. These are thinner fans, and notice that the air blows out the back. All right. The audio is cracking. I think that was just the plastic shrouds, but let me know, chat, is the audio bad? Like sometimes. I think it's okay. I think that was just the audio from the cracking plastic here. Okay, so let's do a quick thermal analysis. All right, we got our CPU here, the Intel 285H. You got your GPU over here. We can't really see the VRMs or anything like that. If we take this away, we can see a bit more detail here, but you can see some VRMs here and MOSFETs there. And the fans will blow out the back and hit the screen. So this is kind of a sad day for Rocky because Rocky loved, when I was using the Scar 18, to lay behind the laptop and get all warm. Rocky's my cat, and yeah, he can't really do that with this laptop because the air blows and hits this screen and goes upward. So now I want to also point out with this, let me go ahead and zoom in a bit again on this with the other camera. If you install a double-sided SSD here, I did have to remove these little rubber things here, okay? And I think technically this motherboard, you probably want to do a single-sided SSD. But currently my double-sided SSD is in the 5090 Zephyrus G16, and it's a little bit bent. It's bending just like, if this was perfectly flat, it's like, I don't know, 5% bent. And that's because there's a couple of chips here on the motherboard that are in the way. So yeah, it's not great, but it was enough space to actually put it in there. So I'm trying it out, and my SSD is working fine as far as I know so far. But I just want to point that out to you, that of those of you that really want to use double-sided SSDs, it's going to be a little bit dicey. All right, now for watt-hour battery, we have a 90 watt-hour battery on here. And I also want to point out we have some downward firing speakers on the left and right side, so you get left-right audio separation there. And then on the other side of the laptop, we have also 4 more upward firing speakers. So I think this has a total of 6 total speakers, and they sound really good overall, in my opinion. Plenty loud and very clear bass, mids, and highs. We'll do a speaker test today, and you'll be able to hear them for yourself. Top-down camera, not great audio. It should be the same audio. Shouldn't be any different. Oh, okay. There. That's it. Thank you for pointing that out. There was an extra camera in my audio sources list, down the list, that I couldn't see. Thank you for the feedback. All right. Okay. Good. I think that's everything, right? Yeah. Everything we need to see here. Let's go ahead and move on. So putting this back, I recommend starting in one of the corners, pushing down. You should be able to feel each of those little latches grab the case. And there we go. Put the last screw in here. The pop-up screw goes down first, and then I put in the rest of the screws. All right, I'll do the short ones. Do the short screws first. Amini says, what do you think of the latest Alienware mid-range laptops? I think it's a step down compared to the M15 and M16R1 series. Worse keyboards and screens. I'm not sure yet. I have not done a review or been hands-on with it. I think you're talking about like the Aurora 16, I think. I'm not sure which model you're talking about specifically, but. Again, be very careful to put the right screw in the right hole, or you're going to have a bad time. Baka says, other reviewers are not liking the entry-level Alienwares. Do you know why? Is it because of worse keyboards and screens? I need to watch Jared's video on the Aurora 16. All right, rubber feet back in. Wait, oh, okay, this is the middle one. I was like, we got an extra screw, oh no. Okay. And I also want to mention that since this is a T6 screw set or whatever, it's very hard to strip the screws. It's really convenient getting them on and off and making them really tight. So I really appreciate that they did a T6 on here. And I really wish they had done T6 throughout the whole laptop, because once you get inside, like I said, I stripped the Phillips head screw for the SSD, which I do not I do not like that. You know, I want to see them use their new toolless SSD tool, you know, the toolless SSD latch that just goes bloop, and it turns to the side and you're all done in like a half second. That would be super cool. Okay, so that's the laptop. Let's go ahead and, that's the laptop bottom. Let's go ahead and get this laptop going and get into the BIOS if we can. So I'm gonna press delete and F2. Oh, you know what? It may want to, it may detect that I was inside the laptop and you have to plug it back in, I think, again, to be able to turn it on. Bingo. Okay. All right, I'm going to scoot over a little bit so I'm in the camera and I can control this camera to see what we need to see here. And I'm going to plug my mouse in now. Ooh, I just heard thunder outside. You know, considering it's rainy season in Thailand, it has not rained that much. All right. Camera up. All right, so there we are. Let's take a look-see. I am using my USB mouse now. All right, so Intel Core Ultra 9, 285H, 32 gigs of memory, Intel Arc 140T GPU, and yes, this GPU is powerful enough for a lot of legacy games and older titles or just lighter weight titles. So if you want to game on a lower powered GPU, you can do longer sessions of gaming with this, or if you don't want to switch between the NVIDIA GPU or integrated GPU and you're playing a lighter weight title, you can just use the integrated GPU if you need to. Let's go to the advanced mode and see what we got, what options we got. So let's go through all the menu settings here. Go to the advanced and I'll just the arrow keys. Asus Easy Flash utility is how you can update this BIOS yourself. But this does automatically update through Windows Update or the MyASUS update, so that's very convenient. Asus ERP Advanced Power Management, I wonder what that setting does. Armory Create Control Interface Support, I'm not sure if you need to disable this if you're going to use ghelper or not, you might. Intel Virtualization, Intel AES, VTD, display mode, currently on dedicated GPU only, which we're going to keep it on that. FN lock, you can enable and disable with just pressing FN plus escape can disable and enable that. You can deactivate the efficiency cores if you want, or the performance cores if you want. Cool. I don't see any undervolting unless the undervolting is underneath this ERP thing. I wish. I'm not going to enable this. But if you don't need Intel virtualization, you may want to disable that as well. All right, so boot options. We don't need to mess with any of this, but you have security here. Boot, you can pick a different SSD if you want to start a different SSD there, or reinstall Windows, basically. And then you can save and exit, but we don't need to save anything. We'll just discard and exit. So that's the BIOS. And like I said, it updates automatically, and it's pretty easy to update if you need to update it yourself. Better than the average BIOS overall compared to most companies, where a lot of companies these days you have to manually do it yourself, like MSI, and I believe, I'm not sure if Acer you have to do it manually yourself or not. Okay, so there's the OLED display. It is gorgeous, it is beautiful. Let's go to the next test. What do we got? Port evaluation. I kind of skipped that, so let's jump back to the ports. And also, let me check. Whoop. I pressed shift too long, I think. Let me just check. Have you seen the new XMG Focus 17 with the 5070 Ti? I've not seen it in person, but it seems promising. Like, nice value laptop, especially if you're over in Germany or Europe. Problem is Alienware, they are Intel only. Or so if you want AMD CPU, you're not going to find it on Alienware. Interesting. Or Alienware, Jared Tech, yeah, screen bad. Interesting. Okay. Good to know. All right, so let's go to the tech specs page here. You can see $27.99 is the Asus eStore price right now if you buy it this full price. $3,600 if you're going for the 5080 and $4,600 for the 5090 version. So 5070 Ti, 5080, and 5090. You also get, do you get anything else like additional RAM here? Yeah, so the 5070 Ti comes with 32 gigs. The 5080 and 5090 come with 64. And it looks like they all come with a 2 terabyte SSD, which is nice. And there's an extra M.2 like we saw when we opened it up. Now, looking at the actual ports, let's go ahead and I'll just, you can see them on the screen there, but I'll also go ahead and put it on, actually show it here. Let's see here. Got my ports light. Beautiful. All right, so this is the Asus reversible power plug. And like I said, I was going to show you, it does kind of wiggle a little bit when you put it in, but it is long and it kind of shunks in there nicely. So you get a nice plug-in action. And it's not easy to pull out. It stays in there pretty good, but it does wiggle left and right quite a bit. And I wish Asus would tighten this up in a future generation. Okay, HDMI here. Let me get the more precise specs on the screen again. All right, HDMI 2.1 FRL. This is going to be a Thunderbolt 4 with display support. You've got a USB-A, USB-C 3.2, Gen 2, so 10 gigabits here, 2-in-1 headset port on the left. And then on the right side, you've got, full-size SD card, and then a USB-A 3.2 Gen 2, and then another USB-C 3.2 with DisplayPort and power delivery and G-Sync as well. So I believe if you want to do direct connect to the NVIDIA GPU, you can do that with one of these. I believe that's going to be, it's going to be this one. So this port on the right side will go direct to the NVIDIA GPU. And if you're in NVIDIA Optimus mode, where you have the NVIDIA GPU disabled, and you want to do display out for, say, doing a presentation or something, you got to use the left one that does the Thunderbolt, because this one you can do with the integrated GPU. So it's important that you plug it into the correct port if you want to have a great time, or at least have a functional laptop, which obviously I think we all want. Now, it says this is a UHS. You can see right here on the specs for the ports, it says it's a SD card reader with UHS 2 312 megabytes per second. And I'm actually kind of tempted to pull out my UHS 2 card and find out how fast it can read it. Let's see here, where is it? Is it in my GH5 right now? If I can't find it, it's not a big deal. I don't usually test this. But yeah, this is a UHS 2 card. And you can see when I plug it in, it sticks out. So some people are going to like that or hate that, but it does stick out. Let's go ahead and just copy a clip or two here. And we'll just put it into here. All right, and you can see transfer speed is really fast, 260 megabytes per second, 250 megabytes per second. And we're doing a 10 gig file, and it's only going to take about 40 seconds or so. So that's really good. We'll go ahead and cancel that so I don't fill up my SSD for no reason. But I'd like to test that. I think people are interested in the port speed, the SD card slot speed, if it does include one. So I'm glad that we have that on there. Especially for me as a content creator, I really appreciate having an SD card slot. Sometimes it's just so much easier to transfer footage than having to use a SD card reader or whatever. So, you know, let's go to Webcam and Windows Hello. So this does have Windows Hello, but let's just go to the webcam. All right. Cool. Boom, ba-doom. I can turn this light off now. There we go. Okay, let's take a look at this webcam we got here, all right? All right, so this is a video of the webcam on the Zephyrus G16. You can see the backlight is kind of shifting around a little bit, but overall, seems like pretty decent webcam. You can easily read the Lumix, the GH5 there, and even some of the details around the lens here. I went ahead and typed it. This is me typing and talking at the same time. All right, let's go ahead and stop that clip and let's do a couple of photos. Perfect. Oh yeah, such a good photo. All right, oh, that's the best one. That is so good. All right, so let's zoom in there and check out the detail. Oh my gosh, got that crazy double chin going. But yeah, you can almost read the little text on the lens there. That's really nice. The GH5 is clearly readable. Lumix is readable. Individual hairs are visible, but we've got a lot of smoothing and compression going on, so not particularly great details, unless the object maybe is standing still, and then the sharpener works a lot better on objects standing still. Let's go to the video and check out the audio. All right, so this is a video of the webcam on the Zephyrus G16. You can see the backlight is kind of shifting around a little bit, but overall, seems like pretty decent webcam. You can easily read the Lumix, the GH5 there, and even some of the details around the lens here. I went ahead and typed it. This is me typing and talking at the same time. Right. So the mic is very clear, but when you type, it does impact the audio quality very significantly. So that's something to keep in mind. And this does have Windows Hello on it. Let's see here. There is no fingerprint scanner. There used to be. Yeah, I don't have a password currently on this test laptop, so need to go ahead and set that up if I were to use the Windows Hello. But it does work fine. No problems, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and move on. Dun, dun, dun. Keyboard and trackpad. All right, so check out the keyboard layout, okay? Let me zoom in. Let me slide this over. We'll tilt this over. Get a little more direct, exact top down on it. And let's zoom all the way down. There we go. Beautiful. All right. So as you can see, the keyboard is got some nice spacing between the keys, and you have this flanking speakers on the left and right side of the laptop, which really adds to the audio quality, but I would say that the backlight on these keys could still be better. Like when you look at the Enter key, the E and the R aren't really lit up that well, but the middle of the key is great. The Shift key, the S and the T is not lit up very well on the Shift. You know, at night in a dark environment, this still looks pretty dang good though. That's the thing. So let me turn off the light and you'll see how it looks like. And there, you can see the backlight suddenly looks a lot better. I can turn off the last one too here. So overall, I really like this keyboard. The layout is good. It feels good to type on. I don't have any problem with the palm rejection or accidentally touching the touchpad. And that's despite the fact the touchpad's huge. Like this is one of the largest trackpads on any laptop that you can buy, and it's phenomenal. It clicks well, it's smooth. I still think a haptic trackpad would be better here, especially given the price tag and the premium features here, but this feels good. It's large enough. I have big hands, and I can easily do 4-finger gestures here. So overall, I really like it. It's also a 16:10 aspect ratio trackpad to match the on-screen display ratio. Okay, so taking a look at the key features on the keyboard. You have an FN lock with FN plus escape. This will allow the primary functions to switch between F1, F12, up to the secondary functions like volume down, up and volume down, mute. Well, volume is actually always going to be available up here, whether you have FN lock available or not. But the mute button will not be available unless you enable FN lock, and now it's available. Or you can hold FN and press F1 if you want to keep it to F1 through 12. But yeah, FN lock's a great feature. I love that. Again, to kind of notice the backlight on the keys here, F1, F2, F3, they're not very lit up. So if you need to read, do I need to press F9 or F8? You got to kind of get real close to read it, even in the darker environment. But like the Enter key does look a lot better when you're in this type of environment, when it's darker. So overall, it's very usable. It's a very usable, great keyboard, in my opinion. Let's continue on. All right, so backlight up and down. You have 3 levels of brightness, low, medium, and high. For Aura, this will switch between the different modes. So this is like a breathing effect. This is the strobing effect. This is the color cycle. So this shows you all the different RGB options. It'll switch between like, you know, red, yellow, blue, green. And then you have your fan profile and also static. So static, I changed it to be white. Let me set this turbo again. Okay. So inside of the Armory Crate software, you can make this into a white color instead of, I think, red is the default static color. The white color is the way to go, though. It makes it look very professional, very, very beautiful. The F5 key here is the fan profile button. This will let you switch between silent, performance, turbo, and manual. F6 is your snipping tool, so you can take a screenshot of something just by pressing that button. You have brightness down, brightness up. You have your monitor button to change your display output, trackpad disable and enable. And then you have your sleep button. This will put your laptop to sleep. Airplane button, which will disable your Wi-Fi and I believe your Bluetooth. And then the delete key is above the backspace key, which is nice. That's the way it should be. On the SCAR 18, it was not this way. The delete key was a little bit off to the side. That was a little bit annoying typing on the SCAR 18 like that. Now you also have a little indicator light when the caps lock is turned on. I just wish that there was an indicator light for the escape for the FN lock. You know, I wish the escape key had another indicator light to tell you so you don't have to test it. Now another key feature here is that you can use the arrow keys with FN to do home and page up, page down. And then you also have the new Copilot Plus button if you want to activate Microsoft's AI function with a key press. But yeah, then at the very top, you have volume down, volume up, mute, and the ROG Armory Crate launch button. This will launch you into Armory Crate. So overall, keyboard is great. Trackpad is great. I really like using this laptop from a usability perspective, it's one of the most laptopable laptops. And I mean, look at how gorgeous it looks when it's in the dark environment. Like the way the metal shines, it's just so pretty. You know, I really like it. Okay, now on the back, you also have this light strip, LED light strip, that you can set this to do different functions in Armory Crate. I suppose we can go over that right now, since we're about to do the software evaluation. And let me also check chat to make sure everything is going smooth. All right. I've only heard bad from ASUS service. Well, I've heard good stories too, but typically speaking, you usually only hear the negative stories. Lance, hey, what's up, man? Good morning. Would you test it out also on this? Okay, I've got a thing on Legion after just boot, getting 115 to 117 on both on bench Cyberpunk, but before it, I change any graphic video settings, for example, disable enable GPU, FPS goes to 125, 127. So I believe that's a driver bug, Templar Gen Door, and I would say update your drivers and see if it's still happening, because I believe it's related to the driver. Okay, cool. All right, let me do some B-roll for us, some fancy schmancy B-roll, and then I will continue on. So let me grab this. Hey, buddy. You talking to me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you want to be part of the B-roll shot? Yeah. Okay, we'll do a kitty flex test. Yes, okay. He's done many flex tests on this. He has liked it a lot. He likes snapping on these laptops. And it hasn't been a problem yet. He's also stepped on the back of the laptop many times, and it's not damaged the display. So that's good as well. Okay, let me put him back in bed. Can you take him again? Okay, let's go ahead and turn this on. Unplug this, take this out. Voila. All right. So to make this a little bit fancier, let's just clear some of this stuff out of the way. And I'll close this door. Whoa, hey kitty cat. Hi. Oh my. This is what I have to deal with on a daily basis. He needs so much love. And he underwent eye surgery for his eye. And so, yes, hello, hi. Oh my goodness. Okay, come in my lap. All right, see if I can do this one-handed. Okay, so we're going to just do some, well, probably, I need two hands sometimes, buddy. Stay there. All right, nice. Uh-oh, you're falling down. Ah. So since he underwent eye surgery, he's got this cone. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're fine. He's got the cone on to keep him from scratching it, and he hates it. And he's very awkward. He's knocked a lot of things off of tables at this point. Beautiful shot. I like this shot a lot though. Stay there. I know, you want to get the laptop that's moving. Yeah, you want to smack it. Stand on it. You're like, why is it moving? I want to ride it. All right, I'm going to do one more shot, zoomed in a lot more on the keys. The keyboard was turned off, sadly. It's a great shot of the trackpad, though. So I'll take that. That's a good shot. Yes, hi. Yes, hello. I know. Oh my. I know. I gotta move my camera off to the side a little bit for right now. All right, we'll let it come around one more time. Beautiful. All right. And now let's do a zoomed out shot. Oh my gosh, that OLED display is so bright. It is super blindingly bright. Let's put it at 30% brightness. That should balance it out a lot better. So maybe it's good that you can't see my room behind me. Nice. Shot's looking pretty good, though the screen's still kind of blown out. It's only like 30% brightness. It's still blowing it out. Let's go down to, let's go all, it's at 10% brightness now. I think that might be the sweet spot we need. Miss J says, little kitty. Yes. All right, it's crazy. 10% brightness is what I need to use on my camera so it doesn't blow out the camera shot. Love that. All right, good stuff. Let's go ahead and turn the lights on and get some bright light shots. Let's try with just one light for now. Notice that when you unplug the laptop, the LED strip on the back stops working, stops doing anything. Just move the trash out of the shot for a moment. Good shot overall. Golden Wolf, I have the black model too. I have a 5080 and a 5090 of the, I think it's called Lunar Gray, I think, and Platinum White. So I've got both of them. I suppose we could get some B-roll shots of the black model too. All right, so I think that's pretty good. Let's do that, and let's grab, let's do some top-down camera. I keep pressing the button, moving this. Top-down camera, here we go. Ooh. Focus, and let's move my camera out of the shot again temporarily. We'll let this do one full rotation. And then we'll, I don't know, close the lid, maybe? Also, let me scoot it down just a little bit and open it a little bit more. Ideally, I want the motor to move smoothly here. Nice. That's basically the shot I was looking for right there. Looks great. All right, let's try turning on a second light. Ooh, that's beautiful. Got the whole bottom to come in to the shot for just a moment. Love that. Gizmo, can you tell us what mouse I'm using? Well, it's a mouse I technically wouldn't recommend. Well, I mean, I do recommend it, but it has one problem with it. That it doesn't let my computer go to sleep. It's the Logitech G35, I think, is the name of it. Is this mouse, G305. It works great in terms of actual general usability, but my main problem is, like I said, it doesn't let my computer go to sleep. It constantly wakes it up, the Logitech drivers. Like as if the mouse is being clicked or something. It just immediately wakes the laptop up again. So, all right, I'm just cleaning the gray RTX 5080 version here, and then I'll be able to show you that. All right. All right, let's do the lid closed with the silver version first. So you can see both colors side by side. Technically, I've got 3 of them here, so you can kind of see both. Haha. 5070 Ti, 5080, 5090. And cool. I suppose we can also flip it over and do a little underside. At least one rotation with the underside. Nice. All right. And let's go ahead and put the gray model out now. All right. Okay, so here's the gray. I'll go ahead and take back this laptop out of the way here. Nice, and let's go ahead and open her up. Does the laptop have a single color keyboard? Well, it is only one zone, but it is multicolor, so I can have it switch to the multicolor mode so you can see that. But I do wish it had perky RGB. That would be really sweet. I think they're just trying to keep the costs down, and this is one of the reasons why the Zephyrus G16 is cheaper than the Blade 16, for example. Even though they both have unibody aluminum chassis. So, all right. And I suppose we should get a round of its circling around the ports as well. So we slide this back a little bit and turn this on. Let's go to here. Okay, now we'll slide this a little bit further away. Zoom in more. We're looking to get a ports shot. Specifically. Needs to be a little higher. Okay, let's see if this one is a good shot. Looking good. Beautiful. All right, and let's get the other side and we'll be done with the B-roll. Move on to the next phase of the live stream. Voila. Okay. All right, let me get this put back behind me again. Okay. Cool. Beautiful. Let's see here. Okay, we're ready to move on to the software evaluation stage. All right, so obviously you come with Windows 11 on this laptop, and the main control mechanism for it is going to be Armory Crate. You can press the Armory Crate button to launch the Armory Crate. Hey, what was that? What just happened? The laptop just like went to sleep or something when I pressed the Armory Crate button. Usually, it should open Armory Crate. What? I just pressed this button right here, and that's it. Let's see. Let's see if the laptop wakes back up or something. Whoa, the computer restarted. Interesting. This button caused it to crash. Weird. Never seen that before. Okay. What drivers are we testing on? We're testing on the latest drivers. The latest drivers being 580.23 that came out a couple days ago. All right, let's try pressing it again and see if that happens again. I don't know. That was really weird. So microphone works. Okay, there's Armory Crate. And let's talk Armory Crate. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is the main dashboard now for Armory Crate, and you've got Windows power modes. If you want to click that, you can control it through Windows power mode. You've got silent, performance, turbo, and manual modes. And inside of manual mode, there is a lot of extra tweaking. You can set it to be max fans, which is what I have it set at. You can also set the short and long power limit to 110 for the short and 85 watts for the long. The GPU, as you can see, is set to maximum power with maximum thermal target. Oh my gosh, Rocky's running around, running into the wall. And you can also overclock it here between 200 and 300 megahertz on both of those. So generally speaking, I would just probably keep this laptop on turbo or performance unless there's a very specific reason you want to switch it, like in manual mode if you're trying to get the right acoustics for your environment. You could also, so you could set it to be like medium fans and max performance if you don't mind it running hotter. Or you could set it to like medium performance and maximum fans to get really cool running laptop. It all depends on what you want. Now, in terms of actually using this, you got to go through a few extra steps compared to the last version of Armory Crate. And I don't like the changes that they did to Armory Crate. I feel like it kind of went backwards a little bit. It could have been better, but it's fine. It is what it is. Okay, so to get to your device settings, you got to click on devices, then you got to click on the laptop. Even if you only have one device in the laptop, all right? And then when you click GPU performance, not everything shows up for a moment, and then all the rest of them show up, so keep that in mind. All right, so inside of system configuration, you've got CPU core configuration. You want to turn off the E-cores, you can turn off the E-cores, turn them on, all on right here. You got the Windows key you can disable, the ROG key, which is the one that just caused us to crash there. but I leave that enabled. FN lock, this will tell you if you're using F1 through 12 or the secondary function. You got your touchpad, disable and enable boot up sound, enable, disable modern standby assist. This means that your laptop will go into hibernation mode if you leave the laptop in sleep mode for an extended period of time. So it'll automatically go into, the hibernate mode will basically idle better when it's asleep. It'll basically not take the battery hardly at all, compared to if you just leave it in sleep, it's gonna slowly drain the battery over a few days down to nothing. Hertz panel power saver, this will switch you down to 60 Hertz refresh rate on your display once you unplug the battery. Power mode synchronization, dynamically adjust your Windows power mode based on the Armory crate's operating mode. So this will cycle the Windows power modes with Armory crate power modes if you have that enabled. Memory assigned to iGPU, interesting. You can set your iGPU memory. So that's, I guess, if you're using the laptop with the NVIDIA GPU disabled, which is not going to be very often. But now, if you want to go into maximum performance mode, I would recommend the GPU Ultimate mode. It doesn't really make that big of a difference, generally speaking, but only slightly, maybe in certain rare instances. Generally nothing. It's going to be very little power gains, but the main advantage, I think, is that you will not have the screen flicker when you open and close a game. So NVIDIA Optimus, takes a few seconds and it disables the screen, and then it brings it back when it switches back and forth between the integrated GPU and the dedicated GPU. And if you just are going to be using the NVIDIA GPU, it's kind of annoying having it switch on and off, on and off, on and off. So I like GPU Ultimate mode for that reason. But when you actually want good battery life, you have to click Standard and restart the machine to do that. Now, when you're inside of Standard, you can set it to just use the GPU of either the dedicated GPU or the iGPU, so that's probably the way to go, but I do my tests usually in GPU Ultimate mode. Now, Eco mode here is you're only using the integrated GPU, and this is what you want to do if you want better battery life, because if you just use Standard or MS Hybrid mode, the discrete NVIDIA GPU will oftentimes come on and drain your battery life extra fast. So I recommend always going into Eco mode when you are basically trying to maximize your battery life, all right? Now, the nice thing about Armory Crate that I really like is that when you want to switch this, you'll have to restart it. But you can see down below here, it lists all the different applications that are using your NVIDIA GPU. If you want to switch to integrated GPU only mode, you'll have to disable these, and it can Armory Crate is capable of automatically disabling all those applications, allowing you to switch quickly. Because by default, NVIDIA is very dumb, and they make you manually close everything. And sometimes they're like background applications. It's really annoying. You have to go into Task Manager and turn them off, and you're like, this is so dumb. And it is dumb. NVIDIA Advanced Optimus needs some more improvements. But yeah, okay. The lighting mode, you have static, breathing, strobing, and color cycle. And if you want to set the color of your static mode, you can do that right here. So you can make it blue, you can make it green, you can make it pink, whatever you want to do. But that lets you have some customization for your color, all right? So if we want to make it red, now the keyboard is red. So very easy, quick and easy to do that. All right, and then there's also the slash lighting. Welcome to slash lighting. Show off illuminated animations across your laptop lid through customizable LED options. Choose your favorite effects, simple editing, transform your LED lid into a unique visual display. Bring your audio to life with the equalizer visualization, sonic match, and then app notifications, go to Windows settings, notifications, and clear allow notifications to play sound, and then turn on enable sound with animation patterns, stay in the loop with animation patterns, sound notifications, ensuring you'll never miss any messages. Interesting, I've never tried doing that on here. But you can see there's some basics. There's sonic match, which is your audio matching. Bounce, which animates kind of like that. Slash, it goes down, up and down. There's loading, and then there's static, and then there's dark. You can turn it off if you want to save battery life, for example. But doing slash, and you could raise the interval so it takes longer, doesn't flash quite as much. But yeah, pretty cool. I wish each individual line could be animated, so you could do like a little bit more gradual. But overall, it's still cool to have it. Not a big deal though, either way. Now on the left side of Armory Crate, you got Aura Sync. This will let you sync your RGB with other ROG lighting. Scenario profiles lets you set up a linked app in the foreground, which will then switch into a certain performance mode. Kind of cool. There's macros you can create inside of Armory Crate. You got a game library, so you can launch your games if you want. Visuals, you can change the color temperature of the display, for example. Then content platform, this is interesting. I haven't clicked on this yet, but it looks like you can buy stuff. Oh, you get some cool backgrounds. That's actually a really sick background. I really like this one too. And then there's some promotions for game deals and stuff. So basically it's kind of a store now. And I don't love that. You know, like I wish that this was simplified, more like G-Helper, and I want it to all be under one main dashboard. Like all of these settings could be on one page. They don't need to have so many different pages. All right, so there's a user center if you want to log into your Asus account, and then inside of settings here, this is important. You can get your updates through here. I did update this just today. All right, and then the other application, there's maybe one more you need to know about too, but MyASUS is the next one. And you can see MyASUS allows you to do a couple of key features, but you can update your BIOS through the system update here. This is where you get your BIOS updates, that and Windows updates. And under device settings, you can enable battery care mode, which I do recommend doing battery care mode. It'll basically keep your battery at 80%, which will improve the longevity of the battery's life over the long haul. You also have AI noise canceling in here if you want to reduce your ambient noise. It did not seem to work very well when we recorded our video though. Yeah, looks like there's a few other features in here that you probably don't need to worry about, like with your audio, visual, and connectivity. I probably would not mess with them. Anyway, all right, so let's see, do we have, yeah, so we have Dolby Access. This is the other application you need to know about for your sound settings. You can change your equalizer basically to be dynamic, music, balance. You can make it so it's less bass, more bass, and this laptop's speakers are quite good already. But if you wanted to raise the bass, for example, you could do that. And see here, wait, is this the high? This is the highs, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. If you don't like the mids, you can adjust it however you'd like. But dynamic will probably deliver the loudest sound because it tries to optimize the sound volume, especially in dynamic. So we'll probably leave it on dynamic when we do our audio test. Okay. Cool beans. There's your software evaluation. Let's get into our tests. Display test, nits, color gamut, and brightness. So Spider 5 Elite color gamut test. First test here is going to show us our color gamut based on the default settings. And you can see we got 100% of sRGB, 94% of Adobe, and 89% of the P3. And keep in mind with the Spider 5 Elite, it underestimates by about 7 to 8%. So realistically, we're higher than 100% Adobe RGB, which is great. And then we're at about 96, 97% of the P3 color gamut, which is still very good. As far as nits brightness, we have 388 nits brightness as well as 388,000 to 1 contrast ratio, which is also very good. Take a drink of my Spider-Man cup. Check out the Spider-Man cup. From the recent Spider-Man movie. It was the special theater cup. It's pretty sweet. Okay, all right, and so as far as color gamut is concerned, this laptop's display is really bright, it's really vibrant, it's very contrasty, and it's also really great in that you do not have hardly any glare on this OLED. Like you look at the OLED from Lenovo this year, and they have extremely glossy displays they're very poppy, they're very beautiful when you have a bright environment, but when it's not very bright and you have bright lights on you instead, it's so reflective you can see yourself like crazy. So let's go through. Okay, I don't think I logged in there. Let's go to YouTube. I'm going to pull up our video display. Test sample. All right, and here we go. Oh, I should tighten this some more. Okay. Beautiful, all right. I'm gonna mute that. But yes, this display is gorgeous. It's got deep blacks. The brights are still really peaky and bright, and because it's an OLED, there's not much bloom to the image at all, which results in a great all-around image. Oh, I have this also 2 stops down. I just raised the stops on my camera to be 0 flat. But yeah, it's a really vibrant display, very colorful, and mixed with the high quality speakers makes for a great multimedia experience that I can definitely recommend. It's really good. All right. Let's see here. Okay, bloom test. Here we go. All right, so this is a really good example of potential bloom. So this is a image right here, very bright, and then on the side over here, I've got the mouse, and it's completely black around the mouse. So if I zoom in, right here on the mouse, you can see there's just a little bit of bloom around the mouse, but it's super minor and not very noticeable in my opinion, unless you're looking at it very, very close. But yeah, just maybe a 1/4 inch around the mouse, there's a bit of a blooming field around it. But compared to, say, the MSI Raider, that had way, way worse bloom. And the Scar 18 with the mini LED also has bloom, but not as good. You know, this is a bit better than the Scar 18 mini LED display as well. So it's important to recognize that bloom can be a really big deal breaker for some people, and this, I think this test shows how minimal the bloom is on this display. It's still there, but it's not as pronounced as a lot of the other mini LED displays, but you still get similar brightness, peakiness, though not the total sustained nits. Like if you look at like a mini LED like the Scar 18, that can go up to peaky 1200 nits brightness, which is kind of blindingly bright, and this is only reaching 388 nits in my test and only 680 nits for the Scar 18. So in the exact same test, it was like over 200 nits brighter for the Scar 18 mini LED, but then you have the bloom. So trade-offs with OLED versus mini LED. Overall, I really like this display. It's a gorgeous display that is still arguably so bright that it's too bright in some situations and you have to turn it down. So, and it's bright enough to see pretty well in bright environments, And because it's not glossy, or at least it's not very, it's got an it is glossy, but it's got an anti-reflective coating on it that makes it so it's essentially not that glossy. All right, so next is the AIDA64 RAM test and the Blender benchmarks. So let's check out this soldered LDDR5. Here, do we have? This says it's 1,408.96 SD RAM. I believe it's half of that actually. It's around 7,800, I believe, for mega transfer speeds. But LPDDR5X RAM, and we got the Intel Core Ultra 285H on here as well. May you see yourself on the Zephyrus as well? Not really. Like if I set this display brightness to go down, right? Like look in the dark areas, you can see some reflection, right? But that's with the brightness all the way down to 0 on a black background, and the camera is picking it up, but my naked eye is really hard to see the reflection. And if you just raise the brightness at all, even halfway to 50% brightness, my eyes cannot see the reflection at all anymore. 100% brightness, there's 0 reflection, even on dark backgrounds. And the Legion Pro 7i OLED with the glossy definitely had reflections at this level of brightness and everything. Because I'm in the studio, I'm very well lit, so I'm very reflective right now. Okay, so let's actually take a look at these AIDA64 results. So 77,000 for the read, 75,000 for the write, 94,000 for the copy. The copy is quite good. The read and write are just maybe a little bit above average, and the latency is not really that good. So, and then these other numbers, I don't think they matter quite as much, but I think they're good. I don't know. I don't know how to read these. It's hard for me to quantify these lower numbers. This top memory speed, though, it's pretty easy to quantify this. And the copy, I would say, is very good. The read and write are just maybe a little bit above average. And the latency is pretty mediocre at 144. Honestly, I would expect the latency to be under 100, so I don't know what's going on there. But either way, the RAM speed is fast enough that it is unlikely to make a big difference at all. All right, so here's the RTX 5070 Ti Blender benchmark results. 2452 for Monster, 1398 for Junk Shop, and 1313 for Classroom. And yeah, I think those are quite good. I think that's going to be plenty fast enough for rendering a lot of Blender. CrystalDiskMark, this is the default SSD here, 6,358 for the read, 5,863 for the write. And the sequentials and stuff, they're all good. So overall, this SSD is plenty fast enough to do everything that you want to do. Let me check Cinebench R23 and Cinebench R24. So this is Cinebench R23, manual mode maxed out. So max fans, raised rear, 10-minute test, 21,361. So this is not quite half, but almost half as powerful as a top-of-the-line HX chip, which gets around 38,000, at least in a full power system, maybe up to 40,000 plus with undervolting. With an undervolt, you might even push like 44 or something like that. So this is, in theory, not quite half, but maybe 60% the speed of a full-on HX processor, which is like the Max Intel one, or the Dragon Range HX processor, also gets around 40,000, give or take a couple thousand. Now, or maybe 36 to 40,000 for the Dragon Range as well. So depending on the laptop's TDP and Silicon Lottery and all that. Single core CPU though is quite good at 2,084, not too far behind on the single core. It's just the multi-core, because this has a lot less cores and threads. Let's talk Cinebench R24. We got 1178 for our multi and 125 for our single. Again, the single core is very close. I think 135 is the best I've seen so far on the Intel HX, and for a multi-core 1178, again, it's plenty of power, lots of power, plenty of power to do all the multitasking you need. Just going to do it slower than the other higher amount of core laptops. Let me check chat before we move on. Glossy displays are gorgeous. Yeah, they are. Okay. Darshal says 5070 Ti 64 gig gray version is available in my country. I do 3D. Is it powerful or should I buy the Strix? I'm thinking if it's a little bit weaker than the Strix, I will buy it because of the OLED. Yeah, so the Strix, you know, if you get a thicker 5070 Ti, it's going to weigh probably a pound, maybe a pound and a half more, and it may not have the OLED. It'll probably have worse speakers, but it'll go up to 140 watts to the GPU and maybe have a more powerful CPU as well if that matters in your workloads. With 3D rendering, usually you focus on the GPU, and so you should be like 80 to 90% of the performance of a full power 5070 Ti. So you're only losing 10 to 15, maybe 20%, but not a huge hit to your performance compared to the 5080, 5090, where you go from 175 watts down to 125, and that's a big hit to performance. So in terms of value, with the Zephyrus G16 5070 Ti, you're at least getting the majority of your value out of it. Okay, so let's get into some screenshots of shame. We've got 3 of them, and guess what? They are McAfee again. So your protection from viruses ends tomorrow. So notice how they have timed spam content that's based on your protection level, and last chance timer, your antivirus subscription will expire tomorrow. Limited time offer, your antivirus has now expired, act now and reactivate. It is so annoying dealing with this stuff. Please, Asus, stop torturing us with these pop-ups. Okay, all right. Times by manual mode, no overclocking, 16,317. So this is about 2,000 points lower than a full power 5070 Ti, which gets around 18,500. CPU score 12,960. For Port Royale, we're looking at 4876 for our FPS and a score of 10,531. For Steel Nomad, we're looking at 35.11. And I did test this again, and I got, I think, 37 the second time. I don't know, I don't have the test here, though. But that's without any kind of overclocking applied. So if you were to apply overclocking, you could definitely get a bit more. Now I did the test again on the latest drivers, and the score actually went down a little bit, interestingly enough. And then, let's see here, I'm gonna open the right one here. Steel Nomad on the latest driver, 37.4, so it went up 2 FPS. Port Royale is about the same, 10,569. Now, I did do Battlefield 6. We're about to hop into some game tests. And I did do some preliminary Battlefield tests, but we got to do speaker test, fan noise testing. But let me go ahead and give you the preview for the Battlefield test. So Battlefield 6, low settings, and we were getting 112 FPS on average on low settings in Battlefield 6. On this map, it's a snowy mountain map, and it was like a lot of players, 35 watts to the CPU, 77 degrees. The GPU, for some reason, is only saying 40 here. I don't think, yeah, it's normally high. It was just a low spike there for the GPU. Normally, it's closer to 100 watts being utilized inside of this game. And this is another city map, 90 watts to the GPU, 96 FPS on average, and we're looking at 69 for the 1% low, 35 watts to the CPU, giving us overall very playable, great frames. Let's see what we get when we actually do our Battlefield test here in a moment. But first, we have our speaker test and fan noise test, and then we'll get into the game testing. Okay. Viruses incoming tomorrow, LOL. For more studio works, probably Intel. Okay, so Abdullah asks, I'm considering buying the Zephyrus G16 5070 Ti, but it comes only Intel chip. And that comes to the question of which chip is better, AMD or Intel. I did make a dedicated video on this, and I think that I wouldn't say it's a toss-up necessarily, but they're so close that I would probably buy whichever one is cheaper. So let me just share this in chat. That's the video link to that, comparing the two CPUs, if you want to check it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and move into our speaker test. We'll lower this back. We'll grab our noise volume reader. I am missing the little fuzzy thing on top. I don't think it'll make much of a difference, but it is missing, so I'm sorry. All right. Oops, sorry. I had a little burp there. All right. Beautiful. Okay. So first up, again, I'll just mention Dolby Access. You can adjust the settings for your sound in a Dolby Access, or Dolby Access, not Adobe, but a Dolby Access. And we're on dynamic right now. So that's what we got it set to. Let's do Peter Spacey Roar, and let's also see what our baseline audio is. There we go. So we're right around 45 decibels for our baseline audio. Let's go ahead and do Peter Spacey Roar. Okay, so I saw, I think 88 decibels as the peak, and that's pretty good. I'm surprised it didn't go over 90 given how loud it is, but I don't think, like the bass is so thumpy on this. It's so clear overall. It's very close to what a MacBook Pro can do audio-wise. Just a little bit worse, I think, on the clarity. But the bass is there now. Let's do Faded Aeon Half-Life for our next song. Here we go. Saeed says, for how long will you use the same useless track? It is like you've been using this song for the last 10 years. Yeah, no, I use the same music so people can compare audio from laptop to laptop. That's why I use the same music. And the main reason also is because there's 3 songs and they have each different focus. You know, I could find some new music though, change it out to a new set of music or something if you guys are interested. I do agree. Maybe it's a little stale, but such a harsh comment. Okay, Deuce Williams, La La Love You. Like this song, I admit I don't like this song very much, but it's got a lot of vocals to it.
I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la.
Yeah, so as you can hear, even though we're in the middle of vocals or high audio, you can still hear clear bass. You've got good clear mids and highs, though I think the the mids and highs can still get a little bit louder still, and it'll make the audio experience even better. But yeah, I really like these speakers on this laptop, especially when it's in your lap, because not all laptops sound good when they're on your chest or on your lap. And with this one, it's excellent for watching a movie, sitting down, or laying in bed, or even if it's on a table. It's good in any scenario. So giant thumbs up. You do have some audio separation for left, right as well when you're playing games. So a little bit of a surround sound feel, not great, not as good as the Blade 18, for example, but it's close. And in terms of audio quality, I would say these are like just right up there with the Blade 18, just behind the MacBook Pro. It's like Blade 18 and this one, neck and neck. So very, very good audio quality. And that's one of the reasons why I'm using this laptop, or chose to use this laptop as my laptop this year, because I really like watching movies and playing games with the default speakers. And so to have higher quality speakers is fantastic. And yeah, these are a pretty nice step up from the Scar 18. The Scar 18 sadly does not have the most amazing speakers. Okay. Okay. Let's do a quick Time Spy fan noise testing session. Here we go. So we're going to test out each of the fan profiles and see how much wattage we get through the CPU and GPU, as well as the what am I trying to say? The total fan noise. Okay. Abdullah says, referring back to my question, should I go for the G15 4080 AMD or 5070 Ti Intel? I don't know which AMD CPU you're referring to. Are you referring to like the Dragon range? And honestly, I think you'll like both of them, Abdullah. I don't think there's a huge difference between the 4080 and the 5070 Ti. All right, Time Spy, run in a loop. There we go. The IATS 500, how about the temps after using it? I'm sure it would be really good using, okay, Templar says, I have got the IATS GT500 recently and it goes well now. What a masterpiece, it's blessing my ears. Are you talking about your jet engine air cooler? Or are you talking about the laptop speaker? I thought you were talking about the laptop speakers at first because we were just doing the speaker test, but I think you're talking about your jet engine laptop cooler. Okay. Okay, so I need to open HW Info 2. This gives us our CPU information. All right. So again, the baseline audio in this room is about 45 decibels right now. All right, so we are in turbo mode. Let's start in silent mode and go from there. All right, so silent mode drops us down to 55 watts to the GPU. Currently, we're at 69 degrees, but we'll see if we go up or down from there. I also need to raise the back of the laptop now. All right. Back of the laptop has been raised. So 55 watts to the GPU, 29 watts, basically 30 watts to the CPU. Gives us a total load of 85 watts in quiet mode. Now I can still hear the fans going. just a little bit. Not very much. They're not whisper quiet, but they're just barely audible. And 55 watts, so 85 total watts TDP given the fan noise, I feel like is still pretty good. But I was expecting quiet mode to be completely silent, or at least not audible to my ears. Anyway, let's go ahead and see how loud it is. Looks like the temperatures are staying pretty stable. So with a base decibel of 45, I'm going to say 48 decibels, so 3 extra decibels. Let's go to performance mode now. All right. So performance mode, whoa, that's interesting. Only 20 watts to the CPU now. The CPU wattage went down 10? That's weird. Okay, but we're getting 90 watts to the GPU. So total wattage now is about 110 watts. So a lot more GPU performance here at this wattage level, but CPU wattage, oddly enough, not as high as quiet mode, which makes no sense. All right, so fans are ramping up. Temperatures on the GPU now have reached 75 degrees. CPU, 77. Let's give it another minute or two here to kind of level out the temps. Let me check chat. Templar says, since we got the same drivers, maybe we can play one additional bench in Cyberpunk to see if you have the thing that I do. And you're talking about if you benchmark it twice, you see a performance difference the second time, right? Like you benchmark it one time and then you change your performance mode or something and then it goes up the next time. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of driver bug with that from the NVIDIA drivers. I know the XMG review guide gave me pointed that out that said that if you have inconsistent performance, then to cycle the power mode, the power profile, so that you can get it back to full performance. So pretty interesting. I don't know if that's what's happening to you or not. Okay, taking a look at what we got. We're in performance mode. We got 90 watts to the GPU, 20 to the CPU still, 76 to the GPU, or 76 degrees on the GPU, 76 also on the CPU, 78 now, but staying under 80, which is good. So I would say that we're probably pretty stable here. Let's go ahead and see how loud it is. Okay, so I'm going to say 49 decibels for performance mode. Still very good. Let's go to turbo. So turbo instantly gets louder. And we're also looking at additional wattage right away here at the beginning. 110 watts to the GPU, 112, 113. Interesting, interesting. We're again looking at 17 watts to the CPU. So maybe the CPU is just really power efficient, I guess. I don't know. That's interesting. But right now, turbo is giving us a total of only about 130 watts. Again, right around 75, 76 degrees on the CPU and GPU. So, I mean, it's nice low temperatures. The fan noise is definitely louder. All right, so let's go ahead and see how loud it is now. "53 decibels." Again, the baseline is 45, so 8 decibel increase here for turbo mode. It is so interesting how it's just sipping that Intel wattage. All right, on to manual mode. Let's go. So manual mode, we're seeing 120 watts to the GPU. CPU, it jumped up to 30 watts, but now it's back to 20 again. Why was quiet mode using the most CPU wattage out of the 4 modes? That's kind of crazy. That's wild to me. All right, so manual mode here, the temperatures actually have gone down now to 74 on the CPU and GPU, 75, 73. Interesting. So inside of manual mode, you're getting slightly more performance on the GPU and same performance on the CPU as turbo. All right, and those fans are definitely super loud now. Let's go ahead and see how loud. "58 decibels for a thin and light laptop." That's crazy loud. All right. Nice. Okay. So that gives you an idea. You got a nice range of performance. And obviously manual mode, you could use manual mode, and in terms of if you want the most performance, you could use manual mode and just set the fan curve to be less aggressive, you know? You could set it down to like something like this, and it'll lower those temps. It'll keep the temps lower, but also not make it quite as loud as max fans, you know? And so if you do this, you also got to do it for the GPU as well. But let's just go ahead and undo both of those. And so this is what we'll be testing today. Manual mode, max fans, no overclock. Let's go. All right, so Battlefield 6 Open Beta is our first test. I got to plug in my external SSD. So we'll be running these games off of the external SSD. Let me make sure that we don't have extras in here. Hogwarts Legacy. Elder Scrolls. I feel like Elder Scrolls might be worth doing. Are any of these too annoying to test? No, these are pretty quick. Okay, good. All right, so we're waiting for Battlefield to open up, and then we'll hop into a match. Golden Wolf says, Time Spy is mainly a GPU benchmark. CPU scores vary wildly. That's true. But I would say CPU power draw usually does not vary as wildly from power profile to power profile, or at least the quietest power profile is rarely the highest CPU power draw. Let me put it that way. So usually the GPU is the priority. Templar, change any video graphics setting before benchmark. Well, I'll try doing what you're saying, but not for the full benchmark. I'll do it for. I'll just be in one of the graphical scenes, and I'll try changing a setting I'll try going from borderless to full screen and switch back. See if it, I'll do it before. I'll do it before we do the official benchmark. Seben says, I'm using the Lenovo Legion 7i with 5080. You mean Pro 7i, I think? Yeah. 275HX heats up to 102, 103 degrees Celsius with 30 to 40% CPU utilization. Is it normal? Enlighten us, please, regarding general heat misconsumptions. I think you mean misunderstandings. I don't know. So I would say that if your GPU is being slammed at the same time, then those kinds of temperatures are likely to happen, especially if you're not in max fan mode and you're not using an air cooler under the laptop. If you want to target lower CPU temperatures, which I think is a fine thing to do, I usually try to target like 80 degrees if I can. Then what I would do is I would just go to a custom mode and set it to thermal throttle at 80 degrees Celsius. And then you'll never see 102 degrees again. It'll just always get a little bit slower when it starts thermal throttling at 80 degrees Celsius instead. It should still give you very good performance. It's just going to be lower temperature and slightly less performance too. It's not going to be the same performance. All right, so Battlefield 6. We're on low graphics settings, performance preset, and then underneath the graphics settings, you can see we're all low. And under advanced, we have NVIDIA Reflex enabled, frame rate limiter disabled, upscaling is set to DLSS on quality, and no multi-frame generation, because I don't think anyone's going to want to play this with multi-frame generation, but you could set this to 2, 3, 4, or off. Maybe you could play this pretty well with 2x multi-frame gen, but that'd be about it. Okay, so let's do all-out warfare, I think might be a good one. I don't know. I don't know all the modes in Battlefield 6. I only played for like an hour. Yeah, Baruch says you can also limit the CPU wattage to only 60 watts. The main downside with limiting the CPU wattage to prevent the CPU temp spikes is that when you're in a CPU-only workload, then you're only limited to 60 watts, which is nothing when you're in a CPU-only workload. So your CPU is going to run really slow when you're doing only CPU stuff. So I would probably set the power limit to, if you want to reduce the power limit, I would set it to like 150 or 130 or something. And then that should keep you below 100 degrees Celsius when you're doing CPU-only workload. And then if you want to limit the CPU temperature when under a GPU and CPU workload, set the CPU thermal throttle target to be around like 85, 80, 90, or whatever, wherever you want to set it. But that way, I mean, if you just set the thermal throttle target to 80 or 90, it'll go to whatever wattage it can pull and stay below the target temperature at the same time. So that's why I would say that's the best. Oh, I didn't start switching yet. Okay. Are you going to review the 5080 version? Yes, we're going to do a 5070 Ti, 5080, and 5090 benchmark side-by-side comparison with the Zephyrus G16 specifically. Okay, so this looks like it's kind of a domination mode. There are 8 squads, so that's 32 players per team. You can spawn on a teammate, and I'm going to turn the sound on and try to play. All right, so there's our FPS, 115 right now on this map. We killed him. Nice. That's one of the points up there. I don't know if you can kill your teammates in this. Whoa, I got grenaded? I don't know what happened. No, I got shot by the assault rifle. All right. Someone revive me. Okay, all right, never mind. People don't really revive in this game very often. Let's go to E. Let's try assault rifle.
Our forces are attacking Charlie. Hostiles are attacking objective Echo.
Oof.
Hostiles are attacking objective Echo.
The gunplay in this, I think, is really good. I think the gunplay in this is a nice balance of time to kill, difficult to aim, and control the recoil. While still having good optics. I like the gameplay overall. I guess let's go towards B. Okay, I know there's an enemy right up here. Whoa. Okay, so they killed me when I was behind the wall. Which kind of, I think that's one downside with a lot of shooters these days is you get, it's either, client side registry, which I think is what this has. So you end up like not actually dying on your screen, but dying on their screen. So you die behind walls sometimes.
Enemy attack confirmed at Echo.
Hello. Oh, I couldn't turn fast enough. That guy's dominating. Giant says, hey Brandon, that's a great laptop, but the CPU needs some tweaking. I may have missed this, but what settings is this? This is low settings with DLSS on quality and performance mode enabled. I can show you it again. Graphics, performance low, DLSS on quality. So I'll reset the FPS counter again. We're doing about 100 FPS right now.
Okay, objective Echo is now under our control.
Ah! Oh my gosh. Someone right next to me. Surprised me. I really want to get a couple more kills. Maybe I should switch back to sniper. I prefer snipers in most games. I know there's someone over there.
Integrate defense for the marked objective. We are attacking objective Delta.
I don't know how we're winning because all I see is my teammates dying all the time.
Be advised, hostiles are assaulting Charlie.
All right, we'll do one more death and then we're going to switch it to this is close quarters combat.
Our forces have neutralized Delta.
This is our objective.
We'll switch it to high quality settings after this death.
We've lost objective Bravo. Be advised, hostiles attacking Delta. Mission is still on track.
Did I headshot him? No! Okay, all right. Let's go to
Hostiles are assaulting Charlie.
ultra settings. All right. Performance and ultra. Let's try that, okay? Okay. All right, so we were doing about 100 here on low settings. Now on ultra, we're doing 92. And honestly, I can't really tell the visual improvement at all. So, I mean, low versus high is so similar.
We're targeting objective Delta.
Be advised, hostiles are attacking objective Charlie.
That's where the enemy spawns, I think.
Objective Charlie has been lost.
Dead? I got a kill? Yes, I got another kill. Haha. Oh, God.
Our forces are hitting Alpha.
Whoa, okay, yeah. Shot from behind. So 88 FPS, 68 for 1% lows. It's very playable on ultra settings. And the performance gain is really not that dramatic, you know? It's kind of surprising how little performance is gained.
Objective Charlie.
All right, last death and we'll move on to the next game. But overall doing 100 watts to the GPU, 35 watts to the CPU.
To attack a marked objective.
Let's try to go for D.
We are still controlling the fight. Keep it going.
Wow, I didn't land any of those shots. Oh, so close. Oh, hee hee. It's an RPG. I shouldn't miss with this.
All right, we took back the objective.
How many RPGs do I got? This is cool.
Move to attack the marked objective.
Hey, got one. Okay, I should just use this. Rocket launcher time.
The enemy is taking Alpha.
But notice the frame time graph has been extremely smooth. I think there's only been one major stutter. Can't really see this. Ooh, okay, that hurt. Oh, okay, there it is. 86 FPS, 65 for 1% low. So you get about 15 more FPS low versus ultra. Cool. All right, let's move on to the next game. I believe it's Baldur's Gate 3. And let me check chat as well. With what DLSS setting? This is DLSS on quality for both low and high settings. So I feel like it was very good performance overall. Very playable. CPU frequency, yeah, we could probably pull that in. Which CPU frequency do you think we should do? Because we could do core effective clock. But that's pretty much the average of the clocks. The core clock here, we could also grab that. Average effective clock's not going to be very good. This is where ultimately what I really want is to get all of this information into the overlay. I want an overlay tool that lets me see each individual CPU core's effective clock. And to do that, it's kind of a pain in the butt, and it would take up so much space on the display, which is why I don't. MSI Afterburner does not show frequency, but that usually shows you the highest frequency. All right, so DLSS on quality here. We're going to do the Ultra Graphics preset with DLSS on quality. And no VSync, that is correct. Okay. GPU wattage, I think, was about 100 most of the time. HVLib says, happy Friday. Happy Friday. So, what if I tried this? Yeah, if I do that, it's no good. It just takes up too much space. Unless OSD settings? Yeah. Maybe there's a way to make them smaller or to make them on another line. Yeah, I could do line 2. Show line 2, show line 2. Let's see. So that puts them into there. If I do enable, put it, wait. I thought there was OSD settings that we, okay, there we go. Line 2. All right, and then OSD. Line 3. Oh, no, that's not it. Line 3. And the last one also line 3. And now we get our P core frequencies right here. I don't know, do you guys like that? Is that that's the core effective clock too, right? That I did those on? Yeah, core effective clock. So the actual effective clock for each P core. All right, so wow, 200 FPS. It's so good. You know, a lot of 5090s are only doing like 250 FPS in this. 270 FPS maybe. 5080s, again 250, 5090s I think doing 270, 280. So still very good. Okay, all right, you guys ready? Here we go. Very good 1% low so far. Did you do the screen color test with the standard color profile? It's not accurate compared to the sRGB color profile, P3 color profile. Gotcha. So I did it with whatever the standard is. It's probably an Adobe focused test, because Adobe tested more than 100% for whatever default profile it is. Beautiful. So 180, 101 for a 5070 Ti. That just seems so good. All right. Very impressive overall. Good initial score, in my opinion. All right, Expedition 33 is next. Right? We're doing Expedition 33? Yeah. Expedition 33. One of my favorite games of all time now. It is so good. I truly enjoyed my 2 playthroughs of Expedition 33. I actually haven't, well, I have completed my 2nd playthrough now, right? Yeah. So I beat the whole game twice, one on normal difficulty, that one, then on like the ultra hard difficulty, the hardest difficulty, and now I'm in the end game, and the end game grind is actually pretty fun. There's a lot of end game stuff to do, like collecting all the different weapons, and then there's also a new game plus, which I didn't realize there was new game plus the first time. I wish I had done that the first time, because I just started a whole new save. But the sound in this game is awesome. So epic DLSS on quality. All right. I should turn it down a little bit. Sound is so good. So good. Oh yeah. So you can see my 2 playthroughs, 26 hours on that one, 44 on this one. And the thing to keep in mind with those playthrough hours is that it actually doesn't factor in when you lose fights, I don't think. It only counts the hours when you keep making progress through the game. So actually I think I have a lot more hours on Steam, like well over 100 in the game. But yeah, love the story. The gameplay is pretty fun, but the story and the music, that's really where it's at. All right. Let's see here. Okay, I was gonna say, I'm seeing a lot more visual artifacts, and now I'm pretty dang confident. I'm confident that we have frame generation on right now. So I'm gonna grab frame view. No, I don't mean to run it again, whoops. Can we get the frame view app? There we go. Pin, left, scroll lock. Set it to F10, cool. All right, so there's gotta be frame gen going on here. Frame generation auto. What? Do not want it on auto. We either want it on or we would want it off. Probably. But yeah, this is a game where you probably would want to play with frame gen, maybe even at 4x, because yeah. But let's do it off first so we have a comparison. And we'll do 2 circles. But this game is the hardest game to run out of any game in recent history that I know of. Because you ultimately probably would want to run this on DLAA, not just DLSS, but DLAA. So I like this overlay. I like it like this because you can see which cores are being hit, what their frequency is, game to game, and I really like this overall. The problem is when you get to like more and more cores, you know, then again, if we only do the P cores, it's not too bad. Okay, so let's go ahead and start the test now. We'll run around the circle. Do, do, do. So a 5080 in this gets around 60. Like a full power 5080 gets around 68, I think, give or take. And a 5090 gets around 75, 76. For reference. So 53, still very playable, but you know, I probably do want to have closer to higher levels. All right, let's go to frame gen, 2x. So with frame gen, we are above 90 FPS. It's very hard to see visual artifacts. And yeah, this is a game, run it with frame gen, it'll play really well. It's not a twitch shooter, but it's all about timing the counters. So you just have to get used to the timing with frame gen in the mix. If it slightly increases the input latency, you'll have to adjust your counter parry timing. So with frame gen, we're doing 91 FPS. Our 1% lows appear to be messed up, I think. Yeah, 1% lows appear to be half. 31 and 1% low up here is 88. There's extra text up here. I don't know why. Anyway. Oh, is that another overlay right there? Let's see here. I'm discovering something right now with you guys. Says P-Core 12. P-Core 12. I did. So this has different. Ooh, I might use this going forward next time to get the P-cores up there on the screen. Okay. Oh, and this enables the overlay all the time up there. Whoa, and you have 1% lows with HW info. I didn't know that HW info can do 1% lows. So cool. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to play with that in my spare time. But 91 FPS with 4x frame or 2x frame gen. Let's go to 4x. I don't think you'd want to go to 4x on this low of a base frame rate, but now we're doing 160. And yeah, it's butterly smooth. I feel like for the 4x frame gen, I generally would recommend a higher base frame rate, because the lower your base frame rate, the worse the artifacting and input lag will be. So if you want to use 4x, I'd probably lower the settings down some. 160. It says 1% low is 140, 152 up here. So very cool. Nice to see them. Nice to see them make some improvements there. Okay. Let me rotate this a little bit. Huge line on the bottom of the screen. I'm not sure. Not sure what you're referring to. Okay. Templar Gendor says, where do you think I should set DGPU? Legion Space is stuttering my gaming. Like for real, every 5-6 seconds is insane stuttering. Tried everything, only delete it helps. If set via BIOS, I get insane artifacts. Make the overlay a little bit smaller if possible. Yeah, that's maybe a good idea, Darian. Looks like Counter-Strike 2 had to download an update before it'll launch. Let me look up a command code for Counter-Strike. I heard you can use Afterburner if you enable screen overlay. This looks like it. Allow third-party software. So let's see how that goes. Bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum bum bum. Doom 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 doom. Suppose we can check what color mode this was in. Color temperature set to default. Okay. Yeah, native is default vivid colors. DCI P3 standard cinema colors. Display P3 wider true to life colors. Interesting. Native and sRGB look very similar. P3 definitely looks a little darker. P3 wider true to life colors. Interesting. I am tempted actually. Let me find my Spider 5 Elite. Okay. All right. Well, I'd say let's try. Yeah. Let's try it and find out. Okay, workshop maps, FPS, except we need to check our settings first. Advanced video, low preset, full screen, and we're at QHD plus. Resolution, whoa, look at the overlay. Changed colors to be lighter yellowish color. All right, here we go. 280, so on low settings at least, we are cruising. You know, I want to restart this. I've decided right now, I'm going to do low, but no FSR. I think that is the better way to go. Because FSR on balance is the default setting, so we're just going to disable it. All right? Disabled FSR. So we're doing native resolution low. You know, the FPS might be very similar, actually, if we are very CPU bound. If we're very GPU bound, then this might make some improvements, but let's see here. I wasn't paying attention to our CPU GPU wattage here, but okay, yeah, so the wattage is almost the same. And we're running it on native resolution low now. So 80 watts to the GPU, 65 degrees on the GPU, 50 to 60 watts on the CPU, And we're also hitting 2 P cores pretty dang hard, 4 other P cores at medium. But it's interesting how it's primarily hitting two P cores. That's it, mainly. Interesting. Okay, FPS on average right now is 283. This is going to make my Counter-Strike testing a lot better, I think, having these overlays in the mix. So Templar says, I'm trying to see if you're asking me or you're asking someone else. Where do you think I should set D GPU? Isn't that in the Legion space? Legion space is stuttering my gaming, like for real, every 5 to 6 seconds is insane. Only deleting Legion space helps? You can't set it via the BIOS. Weird. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to, you should be able to set it in the BIOS. Or the NVIDIA control panel. Those are your 2 places. At least if you leave it in Optimus mode, you can use NVIDIA control panel usually to switch between the 2 GPU modes, like dedicated GPU and being able to switch to the integrated. Okay, here we are. 300. 300.9, so 301, with a 1% low of 118.8. So excellent. You can get great performance in Counter-Strike 2 with this CPU-GPU combo. All right, Cyberpunk 2077, here we go. And let me see, which game are we not supposed to do here? Elder Scrolls, Doom Dark Ages, Starfield. I want to remove one game. Okay, let's do, yeah, we'll follow the game list here. I love these temps. The temperatures are really good, I agree. I'm gonna do a Skittle. These are the Thailand Skittle container. It's a plastic tube, but it makes it really easy to eat Skittles without touching the Skittles because you can just go put it right in your mouth. Put it back in your pocket, so it's very easy to carry with you without having to, like if you have dirty hands, like if you're a construction worker or whatever, chef, you have dirty hands, you can still eat Skittles without having to get your hands clean. So that's pretty cool. Oh, and here in Thailand, you have the green apple flavor, which is so much better than lime, which is currently what's in the United States, red bag. Skittles is like my favorite candy, so. All right. So I'm not supposed to change anything, right? Templar, Gendor, I don't change any setting. I load into a fight. Man, my saves are all over the place here. I think this is the right one. Oh, we'll see. A little Skittles ad? No. If you don't like Skittles, don't buy them. Not sponsored, I wish. They should sponsor me. Man, I would give them a lot of... Whoa. That was a weird visual artifact. It was like... That was very weird. Okay, so... what happened to our overlay? Well, frame view is showing us 90 FPS. All right, so we're gonna sit in the same spot, 90 FPS right here. Let's switch it to windowed borderless, switch it back to full screen. Same spot, 90 FPS. Oh, I'm not showing you the screen. Okay, so we'll zoom out a little bit. There we go. For some reason, Afterburner is not showing up right now. I don't know why. But we're getting 90 FPS, and I just went in here, went to video, went to borderless, and 90 FPS again, 89, 90, there it is. So I'm not seeing any change there. But for some reason, Riva Tuner is not working. Let me try restarting it. Hey, there it is. Okay. All right, so cool. All right, let's go ahead and we're gonna have to load a couple times, I think. Full screen, apply, graphics, ray tracing ultra, DLSS neural network, DLSS on quality, ray reconstruction on, frame gen on 2x, which I think is gonna be the most common way to use this game. Let's go ahead and click Run Benchmark. Okay, so I'm going to do the benchmark also with frame view because the 1% low is bugged right now. But we're getting about 80 FPS, and this is with frame gen, so I would not recommend using these settings. I would recommend lowering the settings to make sure you're above 90 if you're going to enable frame gen. So you could always turn off ray tracing or make it medium ray tracing if you need to. This is a 5070 Ti, you know, so a little bit of tweaking sometimes might be required. You also will probably get better performance, I guess, with the transformer model. Taking a look at our GPU, we're doing 103 watts, 72 degrees on the GPU, 80 degrees on the CPU, 36 watts to the CPU. That's fantastic overall. 81 FPS, 34 for a 1% low, 10.7 gigs on the VRAM. Things are looking good. Overall, very nice. All right, and our frame view got us 52 for our 1% low, 81 for our average FPS. So very good. Yeah, I would just tweak the settings a little bit to make them either drop DLSS to balanced or turn on transformer model. I would definitely turn on transformer model, and then I would also probably, I mean, if you really want high FPS, just turn off ray tracing. That's just all you got to do. But ray tracing does look pretty good in Cyberpunk, so I understand if you want to play with it on, and just turn DLSS to balance mode. Alfie Solomon says, is it normal that my CPU gets to 90-95 degrees when gaming? Yeah, it's pretty normal. Especially for thicker, higher performance laptops that are pushing performance to the max. You know, if you set your performance to like a middle level, then you probably won't hit that high of a temperature. But yeah, these CPUs are supposed to be designed to go to like 95 to 105 degrees. The latest generation ones should be able to go to 105 without damage. In theory, I want to see that tested over the long haul, but I generally just try to target like 80, 85 degrees if I can for my CPU. If you want to keep the laptop for 6 years, right? Something like that. I don't think it's going to harm it, but I just like to be safe rather than sorry. No VSync, 2560 by 1600. DLSS on quality. Path tracing is off. And we want Ultra Nightmare, default preset. So basically Ultra Nightmare with DLSS on quality is what we're dealing with here. And let's go. Major asks, I remember you went all in on crypto a couple years ago. How's it faring for you since then? Well, I did not put all my money into Bitcoin, which is what I should have done. I had my money in a lot of different altcoins. Some of them did all right, and some of them did not do all right. So it was kind of a hit and miss, you know? What? This is the very beginning of the game. Why are we going to the beginning of the game? I should have a save. Repertorium? What? Did my save get canceled? That's annoying. And I suppose the other thing we got to check is, do we have frame gen on? I don't think so, but let's double check. Frame generation is at 2x frame gen. All right, here we are, Doom Dark Ages. We're gonna run through here. We'll go up here. We'll run right here. See, I gotta use the shield to go through here. Then we go through here. Do. I think we'll just keep running to the end of this wall over here. That should be a pretty good test. Why? It's like I played the game, because I did play through this game, and it just failed to save my progress for some reason. Because all these guys are dead. How do I break through this wall again? I just came up this path. Am I allowed to break through it? Oh boy. Maybe it'll put me in the right spot. No. Okay, well, let's just, for this test with the Zephyrus, we're just going to sprint until we get to that final wall. I liked my other test that I was doing with Doom. I don't know what happened. Maybe I'll need to make a new save or something. Replay the game to get to that point. It looks like we're doing a 105 FPS. Boom. So 106, 39, for our 1% low. I believe our 1% low is bugged though. Oop. Sorry about that. So we're going to need to do a frame view test when we do this. Okay. Okay. Doing frame view test to track our 1% lows more accurately. This game has some pretty sweet graphics, I'm not going to lie. Boop, boop. So we ended up with 105.55 for a 1% low. Okay. God of War time. Hydra says, hey, so I have the G15 AMD Advantage Edition with the 9800M, 32 gigs of RAM, and R5900HX. What do you think of how many years? What do you think? How many years would that last? I don't know. It'll probably last, on average, of daily use, probably 5 years, 7 years on average. In terms of how long would that last in terms of being able to play the latest games, on at least low 60 FPS, I mean, I'm guessing it could still play Expedition 33 on low, 1080p. If you're talking, as long as you're willing to lower the settings down to 1080p, I think you should be able to make it last a long, long time. Probably. Okay, DLSS is on quality. Graphics are on ultra. Let's get into it. All right. Okay, here we are. 81 FPS. This is a very GPU-bound game. We're doing 105 watts to the GPU right now, 36 watts to the CPU. So overall, about 140 something watts, 141, 142 watts. And this is a very GPU-bound game. So this is about the best case scenario for GPU. Pretty close to it, I bet. Maybe, I guess Time Spy might be slightly better because we were doing 120 in that. But still, so this is about 140 watts total power. We did 86 FPS on ultra settings, DLSS on quality. This looks great, it'll play great. You don't have to worry about this game at all, it's gonna be perfect. Hogwarts Legacy is next. OGs will remember you for your phone drop test videos, and I can't believe that MSI laptop survived being run over by a car. Well, technically, it was actually run over by a 34-foot RV. Actually, on my RV that I was towing ran it over. I think it was actually, was it a 37-foot RV? I think it was 37-foot RV. 36? It was around there. But yeah, it was ran over by a even heavier, like 10,000, 15,000 pound RV. I can't remember how many pounds it was, but it was way heavier than a car would be. Nazarumi says, can you test Gears 5? I cannot because I have to download it and I don't have that game. Oh, right. Okay, so I do have reshade overlay on this. I don't think that's going to affect performance. See if I can make sure it's turned off. Does the G14 5070 Ti perform the same as the G16? Good question. I would say it's going to be close. The G14 might have slightly lower wattage though, maybe. So today I was actually, before the live stream, I was actually testing out how well it would work to plug my 4K cam link directly into the laptop display out. So that way I could get really high quality video feed out from the display to the stream. But it was not working. Not working at all. So these should all be on. DLSS quality, frame gen 2x, ultra preset with ray tracing on. Okay, good. So I can give you guys a quick preview for an upcoming video. This, anyone know what this is? Me. Anybody know what this is? These are XR 3D OLED glasses that can hook up to a laptop and give you displays directly into your eyes. You can take them anywhere. You use a cable to plug them in. And they're all powered from the laptop or smartphone that you put them into. It's really cool. It's really cool. They're only 1080p though. And they do drain your battery really fast if you're only on battery mode, so that's the downside. Frame view decided to not work. For some reason. I don't know why, and I need it to work, so we're going to need to restart the game. Because Hogwarts Legacy is bugged when countering 1% lows. Come on. Exit the game. Come on. I'm pretty much sold on the G16 with 5070 Ti, just waiting for a good deal in my area. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sweet. I mean, you get portability, you get sound quality, you get display, you get thin, you get a nice keyboard, nice trackpad. It's an OLED. Temperatures and fan noise are very reasonable. And it can pretty much play any game, just like pretty much flawlessly. You might have to change a few settings down in the most demanding titles if you want perfect FPS. But for the most part, it's really good. I'm really curious to see how much better the 5080 and 5090 version is. It might only be 5–10% better for a 5080. It might be like, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. I don't want to make too many guesses. All right, we got frame view working now, so let's load in. You know, I feel like this may be my favorite laptop in terms of my favorite portability focused laptop. I like the Blade 16 in theory because they have that thermal bump and it can still go to a higher power limit, but it's still pretty dang portable. But the problem is it's just got too many problems this year. If they had made sure at least the HDMI was direct connected to the NVIDIA GPU, that would be a huge improvement. And then the quality control issues is the other major issue. Okay, I gotta pet the kitty cat. I gotta pet the kitty cat. All right, come here. Pet the kitty cat. Yeah. It's a friendly kitty cat. Yay. Okay, all right. Good stuff. Okay. Here we go. F10. We'll be benchmarking with frame view. %% lows seem to be doing really good, even on the MSI. Okay, now they're not doing as good. 30. They were in the 50s, but yeah, overall, still pretty dang smooth. Let's see what they are with frame view. Frame view got us 46 for 1% lows, 129 for average. So yeah, 1% lows are still pretty good at 46 for Hogwarts, but they're not great. The problem is there's so many. Hogwarts is just a game that's not that optimized. So still, DLSS on quality, frame gen on 2x, ultra settings with ray tracing, still doing 130 FPS. That's good. You know, there's nothing to complain about. That's going to be basically flawless gameplay with a couple of stutters here and there. $5090 on a laptop feels like an overclocked 5080. Yeah, kinda. Depends on a lot of things, but I think the 5080 and 5090 will be extra close together in a thin laptop like this, because the power limit just limits those two GPUs more so, and the more silicon you try to cram in to the same tightest area, then the more similar they'll perform. So, Starfield, 136 hours in Starfield. Let's see. Expedition 33 says I have 131 hours for Expedition 33. Counter-Strike 16, Cyberpunk. Yeah. OG Lock says if you use G-Helper, your laptop gets even better. I believe that. I believe you'll get probably maybe another 10% performance bump with G-Helper, if it makes a number of improvements, you know. I think it does. We're building shaders right now up here, so we got to kind of wait for that. I'm actually really excited to try G-Helper out. You know, like Armory Crate, I think Armory Crate's good. It's okay, generally speaking, at least for laptops. Desktops, I've heard some sketchy things about it being really glitchy. But for laptops, they tend to do a good job making sure everything is at least functional and works. So the problem is right now, this should be set to 66%. Ultra graphics preset. DLSS on quality, frame generation enabled. And good stuff. Let's make sure all those settings saved. Good. Yeah, I actually lost my save from Starfield. That's why I stopped playing. I modded Starfield, and then the game updated, and then the mods no longer worked, and then all my mod saves were destroyed with Steam Cloud saves. They were not brought over to the next version of the game. I was sad. I was like level 86, I think, and now the save is all the way back to level 46 from the moment I first started modding it. Wow, Starfield with DLSS on quality and frame gen, it's only getting 70 FPS? Dang. Turning off frame gen, what do we get? Wait. Turning off frame gen, we get better FPS? Huh? Run that by me again. Is frame gen just not on or something? What? Okay, I don't even think FrameGen is working right now. What? Okay, let's try FSR. We'll do FrameGen on. See if it works with FSR. Okay, well FSR is working properly with FrameGen. So 120, we'll have to test all three of these laptops with FSR instead of DLSS. Here we go. Do 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 do. $115 FPS. Things are looking great. 1% low. We had one blip there where it was kind of bad. But there we go. 113 FPS on average, 87 for 1% lows. This is looking good. I mean, looking good, playing good. I mean, with FrameGen, it's a little bit, you know, a little bit input latency increase. So if we went to DLSS, quality, FrameGen on. FrameGen's not actually on, but we're still getting 60 FPS. So I mean, it's still very playable without FrameGen. But yeah, all right. Let's do The Witcher 3, and then time to get into the final summary review. Templar Gendor, will you make a new Legion undervolting optimization guide? I would really like to, but Lenovo needed the Legion Pro 7i back, so I've already shipped it back to them. And because I said their laptops are shunt modded, they may not be sending me more laptops. I don't know. I'm just trying to tell the truth to the best of my knowledge, you know. So may have burned that bridge. I don't know. They have not responded since I sent it back to them, but maybe they'll come around. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough being a reviewer sometimes because if you don't treat the brands, I don't know this for sure. I don't want to speak. I'm just saying in general right now. I'm not talking about Lenovo specifically, but a lot of reviewers have to like kind of tiptoe around brands, you know, and they're too afraid to offend them, and sometimes that results in some kind of overly positive bias for the brands. So I try to avoid that. I try to just be objective and fact-based as much as I can. But yeah, it's tough because a lot of the brands have a lot of power over the reviewers. You know, what are you going to do if brands won't send you laptops? It's kind of hard to review laptops. You have to buy them with your own money. All right, so we're dealing with FrameGen, ray tracing on, ultra settings, DLSS on quality, and we're doing around 80 FPS. So you may want to turn ray tracing off in this game. Seems like it might be a good idea. All right, 84 FPS, 74% low. I mean, it's smooth. It's just I prefer over 90 if I'm going to use FrameGen. Oh, we're going to go above 90. I see it. Oh, maybe it's okay. Maybe these settings will be perfect. Yeah, I mean, I think I still prefer a few more FPS, though. Oop. Hey, sorry, I bumped the camera. All right, 93, 73 is playable. It's responsive enough. I'd play like this, I guess. It's just right on the borderline. Maybe certain areas, certain cities are not going to quite be so good. So let's just say theoretically, if we wanted to just flip off ray tracing, and yeah, see, now we're doing 140. Now this is going to be super smooth. All right, cool. Let's do a quick summary of everything we found out here, okay? Here we go. Oh yeah. Also, we were going to retest the color gamut on the display. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Retesting the color gamut, since we changed the color gamut to be DCI P3 color focused with a wide color gamut. So it should make everything extra colorful. I'm probably going to change it to that setting on my own Zephyrus G16 5090. I'm just going to do 100% on this. M&A says, do you have a save in the city since it's more demanding? Well, there are many cities, but I believe you're talking about Novigrad, which is the largest city. And don't think I have a save directly there, but I mean, I could. I have it on my, my other Steam account. I have a save there, but I don't know about this extra Steam account that you do my benchmarking with. Mainly, it's mainly a benchmarking account. So I don't think I've ran over there. It might be interesting though to try switching the test area for The Witcher 3. I don't know. I'll probably be phasing out The Witcher 3 soon for my tests. I mean, it's a pretty good test now that they have ray tracing in there and frame generation and DLSS. But, you know, new games keep coming out, and the thing is, it's nice to be able to compare against older hardware. So I like retesting certain games over and over. Okay, well, this is interesting because our color gamut test actually shows worse results on this new setting. (99% of sRGB, 87 Adobe, 88 of P3, with 388 for the brightness. So brightness is the same, but color gamut actually went down when we changed it to display P3 wide. Native gave us a wider color gamut. Okay, well, now we know. Good to know. All right. Change this. Unplug this. Cool. Okay, so let's do a quick summary. I'll wait for the fans to die down. It's taking a little while. You can do it, buddy. There we go. All right. What's up, and welcome to my final summary review of the Zephyrus G16. This is an amazing thin and light portable laptop that can play basically any game on ultra settings, with a couple of exceptions that you're gonna have to go down to like medium if you want to go to plus 60 FPS. Now, this has an RTX 5070 Ti, Intel 285H processor. which has 6 P cores, 16 total cores, that's 8 efficiency cores, 2 NPU cores, and total wattage in most games, though, because this is a thinner and lighter system, only did about 120 watts when in manual max fan mode. But still, with a 5070 Ti, that's actually not too bad. Now, that was with the combined workload of the CPU and GPU. We were doing about 140. Now, in actual games, it varied from 80 to 105 watts to the GPU, with about 30 to 40 watts going to the CPU. With about 30 to 40 watts going to the CPU. Now, the thing about that is, you know, for very CPU-bound games, this is not going to put out as high of FPS for sure as, you know, thicker and bigger laptops that have HX processors that can do 100 plus watts to the CPU while the GPU is engaged. So that's kind of a big downside here. Now, the keyboard, trackpad, touchpad, the keyboard and the touchpad are fantastic. I like the backlight, I like the lighting. I do wish it was per key RGB. It's a single zone RGB keyboard, but there's nice functionality, nice keyboard feel, great key travel for me, I think, and the touchpad is large, it's glass, it feels good. Webcam quality was all right. I'd give it like a 7.5. Windows Hello works fine on this machine. It's very low bezel display, and we had over 100% Adobe RGB on the color gamut in the native color gamut space on the laptop. About 388 nits brightness with the OLED display and 388,000 to 1 contrast ratio, which is still very good. Now, flex test, this thing has very little flex, a little bit of flex in the keyboard area, but around the sides, very little flex. You can also pick this up quite easily with one hand and move it around, you know, in your lap or when you're watching TVs or movies, and it makes it very flexible. Now, it does kind of creak, maybe just a little bit sometimes, if you pick it up from one corner. And it didn't creak either of those times, but sometimes it does. Now, gaming on this, thermally speaking, we had great temperatures. We were running max fans, though. Max fans, you're talking 60 to 70 degrees in the vast majority of games and titles. So that's very, very good. Ports on this are also very good. You got a fast full-size SD card slot. You have 2 USB-A's that are Gen 2 3.2s, 1 Thunderbolt 4, 1 USB-C. The Thunderbolt 4, of course, is hooked up to the Intel CPU. If you need to do a display output through Intel when you're on iGPU only mode, you use that one over here on the left side. If you want to go directly to the NVIDIA GPU, you hook it up to the right side USB-C. Now, this is the key thing that's different between the Blade 18. The Blade 18, it doesn't have any direct connection to the NVIDIA GPU through the ports. And that's a big con for the Blade 16. I'm sorry, I meant to say Blade 16. That's one of the big downsides of the Blade 16, which is the primary competitor to this laptop, in my opinion. So overall, this thing is lightweight. It's got a nice, gorgeous display. It's functional. It can play basically every game. Only costs right now $2,300 or approximately $2,300 on sale currently. And man, the design on this is fantastic. There's very few things to complain about on this laptop. Some of the nitpicks are RGB backlight is not consistent across the entire word on some of the keys, like the Enter key, the Shift key. That can still be improved. There's no per key RGB lighting. The speakers on this, fantastic. It's really loud, great bass, great mids and highs. It could be slightly better clarity. That's what would make it comparable to a MacBook Pro, and maybe slightly higher volume. Still could have more volume. We had about 88 to 90 or so decibels in the speaker test. And for fan noise, we were talking 46 decibels, so baseline decibels about 45. With silent mode, we had 46 decibels and about, I think we had about 80 total watts going through the system. Performance mode, I think it was about 100 total watts going through the system. And then turbo mode was about 120 watts going through the system. Manual mode with max fans was about 140 watts. And the thing is, in each of those profiles, the fan profile was very reasonable for quiet and performance, like 46 decibels, 48 decibels for performance, and then 53 decibels for turbo is still reasonable, but that's where the fan noise can get really noticeable. So if you want to keep, fan noise down, keeping this thing on performance mode will be the way to go. I also want to mention that max fan modes got all the way up to, I think, 58 decibels, which is a very loud fan noise. So I wouldn't recommend max fan mode unless you're wearing headphones and you're not going to bother anybody else. But other than that, I mean, it's great temperatures in max fan mode. Let's make sure I don't miss anything. Removing the bottom requires a T6 screwdriver. Very easy to remove overall with a pop-up screw. Armory crate works fine, but G-Helper may be a great consideration. It's a third-party software from another developer designed to help improve performance and make controlling the laptop a little bit easier. You have to remove Armory crate though, kind of a pain in the butt, and you're kind of reliant also on a third-party developer to keep your laptop working, which is not a great thing if he dies or if he fails to update or if he gets, his software gets infected for some reason, and then your laptop's kaput. So definitely be cautious, but G-Helper seems like a great tool and a lot of people are very much like it. I'm going to try using it in my long form test. I have not tested it yet. Okay, Cinebench R23 and R24 had great performance, but it's significantly lower than the thicker, beefier, bigger laptops with more cores and threads. I've only about 20,000 Cinebench R23, and you can get up to like 38, 40,000 with a higher end system with a full powered Dragon Range or Intel HX CPU. So know that while you have great performance on your CPU for its size, you're really sacrificing CPU performance and some GPU performance as well, because this RTX 5070 Ti, I mean, it has a lot of performance at around 100 to 120 watts in games. Realistically, a 5070 Ti could pull 140 consistently if it's in the right chassis, or at least in non-CPU bound games. In GPU bound games, it should be able to pull closer to 140, which would give you another performance boost over this laptop if you get a thicker one. But the simple fact is, this is already enough performance to basically play everything with a little bit of tweaking in certain titles. So the main reason to get a thicker, full-powered 5070 Ti is if you just want to future-proof or you just really want to maximize your FPS for your money spent. And so in terms of value, I mean, you could get a thicker, higher performing laptop for sure for less money, but those laptops probably will not have an OLED display, have as good a quality speakers and quality ports and build quality overall with the aluminum metal chassis. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to go for this one, I think, over the thicker laptops, especially if you're going for a 5070 Ti. Now, the performance difference between a 5080 and a 5090, especially at 120 watts versus 175 watts, that gets a lot more pronounced because those have a lot more cores and threads than a 5070 Ti. So if you're going for a 5070 Ti and you're debating between a thicker one and a thinner one, the 5070 Ti and this one, it's a lot more attractive to me when compared to the thicker laptops relative to price to performance ratio that you get, especially premium feature ratio to money spent. I feel like you're getting a lot of bang for the buck in this 5070 Ti version of the Zephyrus G16. So in terms of if a loved one, a person close to me was asking what laptop should I recommend, and they want a good general use laptop that can have great battery life, a great display, great speakers, can play any game, here you go, Zephyrus G16. It's a pretty easy recommendation. I think the vast majority of people are going to love it. Now, I do think it could still be improved in the future. Per key RGB, the speakers could get slightly better still. Webcam can definitely still get better. Ports, I wish this had Thunderbolt 5 instead of Thunderbolt 4. And I kind of wish in manual mode we could go up to 140 watts. I feel like you could go to 140 watts if you just update the VBIOS with a 140 watt VBIOS, and it'd probably be just fine. I have no way to verify that officially though, so don't do that officially, but a lot of people will probably just grab the Strix G16 5070 Ti V-BIOS and slap it on here, it'll probably function quite well, if I were to imagine, especially if you're running it in max fans all the time. If you're not going to run it in max fans, though, you might run into some serious thermal throttling. But if you use an air cooler, give it some extra air. You could probably even get this up to 175 watts on the 5080 and 5090 version if you're interested in that. Like if you take a 175 watt 5080 or 5090 V-BIOS from like the SCAR 18, slap it into here, it's probably going to work really well. And you're going to get a nice performance bump. Now, longevity-wise, I probably wouldn't expect it to last as long. Maybe. It might last just as long. But on average, I imagine it would last less as long. Not as long? I think maybe that's the better way to phrase that. Anyway, so in terms of gameplay performance, every game played near or pretty much optimally in terms of frame rates. Maybe Cyberpunk 2077 could use slightly lower settings to improve the frame rate, but Battlefield 6, Baldur's Gate 3, Expedition 33. Expedition 33, I would also probably lower the settings a little bit to get higher. Then again, with frame gen, maybe it was all right, you know, because there wasn't frame gen when I wasn't thinking about frame gen when I was thinking about that. So, yeah, Doom Dark Ages, great. God of War, great. Hogwarts, ran well. Starfield, for some reason, DLSS, frame gen is bugged. But FSR still worked great. Witcher 3, fantastic. I mean, there's not much to complain about. I mean, I'm guessing there may be a couple other games that are going to struggle to hit 60 FPS and maxed out settings. But just tweak a few settings, and I'm pretty sure every game on the market right now is going to run like butter on this machine. So, yeah. This is definitely one of my top recommendations, both for overall model and also for specific config. And in the future here, we've got a 5080 version of the laptop right there, 5070 Ti, and I'm live streaming right now on the 5090 version, which I'm currently using as my personal laptop. So not only am I recommending this laptop from a general usability, but it's also the laptop that I'm currently using as my main laptop. So I'll get a nice long-term usability test on it. And battery life on this has been really good for me. I've been doing live streams, or sorry, I've been doing long form show watching in bed, watching 4 or 5 hours in a row on the integrated graphics with max brightness and volume, and it's been great. I'm not sure exactly how long it could last in that scenario, but yeah, it's lasted so far, like 3, 4, 5 hours, several times now, and it's very good. So yes, can recommend, giant thumbs up. This may be the laptop of the year in terms of price to performance, for value, premium features, and thinness all thrown into one. I think this is going to be a top seller this year for gaming laptops in general. So there's my review, unboxing review of the Zephyrus G16 RTX 5070 Ti. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. Brandon out. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and check chat. Thanks for the live stream. No problem. Okay, perfect. I think that's pretty much, I think I answered all the questions. So thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. Brandon out. Bye.